Welcome to our December last regular council meeting for this term. So in January, we'll have some new council members, and this is the last regular council meeting. We will have a special meeting just to inform council members on December 19th after the finance meeting. But I would ask everyone to please stand, and I am going to ask Mr. Pryor to lead us in the pledge, if you don't mind. I'm sorry.
Right.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you so much. I took you off guard there, didn't I? That was all Deb's fault. Before we'll do roll call, and then I just want to say something. Councilmember Gully.
Here.
Councilmember Garrett.
Here.
Councilmember Parator.
Here.
Councilmember Cummings.
Here.
Councilmember December.
Present.
Councilmember Kennedy.
Here.
Council President Montello.
Here.
We have 7 present and 0 absent. Okay. Before we go into the good news, just a couple housekeeping things. First and foremost, and I apologize, I should have told all of you at the finance, but I did grab a couple folks. For the resolutions, I do apologize, but the person that the resolution is for must recuse themselves because it's a conflict of interest to vote for yourself. So I just want to make that known. I apologize. Councilmember Kennedy, you were out of the room, and I did inform Councilmember Garrett, Councilmember December, and I apologize, Councilmember Parator. So you can't vote for yourself. It would be a conflict of interest. More importantly, I want to welcome back. I did say it during the finance, but we have more people than many of Councilmember Garrett's friends and family here. And on all of our behalf here on the council, we want to extend our condolences to Councilmember Garrett, her family. We welcome her back. She lost her dad. And we're here, and we want you to know that anything you need, we are here for you, and we're happy to have you back, and we are really, really, really sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
Okay, now we'll go into the good news. So this will be our last good news for the folks on this term. And it's, I would say, one of our best news to date because Councilmember Garrett has actually nominated all 3 good news organizations. So bear with me, I apologize. Normally, Mara is keeping me on track, but Mara broke her arm. Okay, it has no relation to the council. The council members had nothing to do with the broken arm, but we're happy also to have Mara back. Our first good news, and these are just really special people in, I would say, an incredibly, really cool neighborhood, one that I was born in. So these folks have a special meaning to all of us because we're going to see North Central be the best neighborhood in our city over the next 2 years. And Deborah Garrett's not leaving us, folks, okay? Even though she won't be on the council, she's not going anywhere. So North Central is still going to be represented by Deborah Garrett. So I'm going to hand it over to Deborah Garrett. We have Snug here. We'll ask Snug to come on up, and Snug stands while they're coming up. Should never use guns. And folks, these are very, very special people. Let's give them a round of applause. Come on up. Thank you so much. Thank you. So we're going to ask these folks to introduce themselves, and I'm really glad that I wore my heels today because I can at least be semi up here. But saying that, Snug's just an incredible program, doing incredible work in the community, and I'm going to hand it off to the four of these folks first. If you don't mind introducing yourself, and then just tell everybody what you're trying to do, what Snug's all about, and where you want to go from here.
Thank you. How everybody doing? My name is Ashashe Wallace. People in the community I grew up, my name is Webb. They call me Webb. There's a story behind that. I started this job. I was actually in school. I started this job because they actually sent somebody for me and were telling me that I was needed. Once I learned a little bit about the program and what it was aimed at doing, I left school to do this. I was once one of these kids out here. I know what it feels like to be hurt, being in a single family home. My mother was on drugs. So there were certain things that I had to do to make sure my sister ate at night certain times. There were just a lot of things that was going on that when I come to school, it was even hard for me to focus in on school because I had so many other issues personally that I'm going through outside of school. So for me to focus on school, that was even a hard task. I got through it, but it was hard. So we're credible messengers. And I say that these kids now probably seen me do some bad things in the community before I went and did my time. So my thing now is to make them understand that I didn't want to do the things that I was doing. The circumstances and the life situations that I was in, I was trying to survive. I've been in foster homes, everything. So I can go down that realm. I'm gang affiliated. I've done a lot of things. So it's my duty to give back to these kids and make sure that they don't go down the path that I went down. So if I could prevent that, our staff could prevent it, that's what we're here to do. We don't look for accolades. I mean, this is beautiful, but we don't sleep good at night unless we know that our kids are safe. That we did a deed for them for the day. That means a lot to us. It was 5 of us, only 4 of us now. We try to do as much as we can to cover the city, but we're only 4 staff right now at the time. It's a challenge, but we get it done.
Truly, it's just amazing. This is what Troy's all about. Folks like you guys, I'm not kidding. This is Troy. What's your name?
Raheem Brown. I'm Raheem Brown. Was born and raised in Troy. I was once, I'm gonna say, kind of the kids we deal with, a participant. You know, I still do a lot of bad in Troy. When I came home from prison, was speaking to a few kids and talking to them, I kind of could tell like they was lost for certain things they were saying. And my thing was I didn't really have any answers. I was asking questions like what's going on with the kids and, you know, the rap music, that was the big thing. They popped Molly, that was the big thing. Like it was all cool. I didn't see anything cool about it. So my thing was I was trying to figure out how can I get involved to help change the situation. And one day I was at a barbershop getting a haircut. And I spoke to Emmanuel. And he told me to come down there and fill out an application for a job. That's what I did. Ever since then, I've been working. At times, the job does get a little difficult, but I love it. I just like, what gives me joy is seeing the smiles on the kids' faces. That's what makes me happy. And just knowing I'm doing something positive in the community to help out.
That's awesome. I didn't get your first name. I'm so sorry. Your first name.
How you doing? I'm Sajay Pryor. I'm an outreach worker for Troy Snug. And what made me come to doing this work is I just want to give back and change lives in my community. And also, fix some of the damage that I caused in my community. So briefly, that's me. Thank you, everybody.
And for folks that might have caught his last name, he is no relation to King. He is Kevin Pryor's son. So we all know what Kevin does for the city of Troy. So if you're out there, Kevin, thank you.
How you doing? I'm James Chestnut, outreach worker for Troy Snug. Born and raised in the community. Like the fella said, I see a lot. I just want to give back to the community and just give the kids a sense of direction because they're so lost right now. It's like, it has me like bewildered. Like I can't believe it, how the direction they're taking with social media, all these things that's going on. And we're just trying to give them a positive outlook. Like we once were those kids, so they can see us doing good now and hopefully we make the changes.
It's awesome. And we can't let you get away without hearing from Deb Garrett, your council member who nominated you. Just real quick, it's not. What does it mean to North Central?
I just like that the fact that these guys are just regular dudes and they're trying to do stuff in the community that most people are not doing, and they're not looking for nobody to pat them on the back. They just want to be in the midst of the crowd with the kids that are not normally noticed. So the kids that are not getting straight A's in school, things like that. So I like what they're doing. I like the approach.
Thanks, Deb. Thank you so much, Deb. And we have a resolution here. And as Deb mentioned, I know it was tough getting you down here because you don't like the accolades or any notoriety. But whereas this is on behalf of the City Council, Should Never Use a Gun, SNUG, is an anti-violence program that works with individuals associated with violence and in neighborhoods that are disproportionately affected by violence. And whereas SNUG intervenes and provides mediation in violent situations, and whereas SNUG helps participants with jobs, education, housing, health insurance, and transportation, and whereas SNUG promotes the principle that every life is precious and every person, regardless of age, race, color, culture, education, or social status, is valued and has an innate right to live in a safe and secure environment. The City Council hereby thanks, oh my gosh, I would kill your name, Jaywon Wallace, Raheem Brown, and all of the members of SNUG for the crucial work that you do every day in the city of Troy. You're an inspiration to the residents of Troy, and I want to thank you personally as a daughter who was raised by a single parent. My dad was a cop, and he was working his job 3 to 11, went out overtime, and I know how it is. I know how tough it is. What you're doing for the community is incredible. I applaud you immensely. Thank you. And then we'll get to take a picture, but our picture taker only has one arm. Okay. Okay.
This all couldn't happen without my coworker James and my other coworker Sanjay. Because you said this shots that
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. All right, Deb, you're getting up here. Come on.
I can do a new certificate with everybody's names on it. Don't worry about that.
We'll read
I can do that.
Sorry.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you. We'll put everyone's name on it. Okay, take this, but we'll get you a new one. All right? Thank you. Here we were thinking Jim Gully was trying to sell him a car. I guess Steve was his baseball coach. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much.
Yes, I was when.
Keep up the great work. Keep up the great work. So what position? What position? Yeah.
Next year, anywhere else you need me.
Utility, I got you. Thank you again, Snug. Thank you.
Thank you.
Troy, Drug Free Community Coalition. Please come up, Ariana and the whole gang.
Say cheese. Say cheese.
First, let's give a round of applause to these folks. All right, now, I know you're all in charge, but who should I have lead us off? Talk to us. What's going on? Where are you going? And, how do you feel about how the program's going? And what can we do, all of us, not just the council, to help?
Good evening. Yep. Good evening. My name is Tarasha Darden McCoy. I'm the project coordinator for the Troy Drug Free Community Coalition. We have with us our youth coordinator, Sadeja Wheeler, and also our young people who are part of our DREAM team, which stands for Drug Resistance Education and More. We are a youth-led organization for the prevention of utilizing drugs and alcohol. In addition, we have recently received some funding to do work on the issue of heroin and prescription drugs. But these young people are our young leaders. They went through our summer, some of them have gone through our Summer Leadership Institute, which is a summer youth employment program, where they learn not only about drug prevention, but more importantly, they learn skills to take back to their community to let people know that most young people are not using drugs and alcohol. In addition, this next Saturday, the 14th, at Hudson Valley Community College, we will be doing a kickoff workshop and training for 30 young people that are from North Central Troy. So if you know of young people between the ages of 11 to 16 that are looking to get into something positive, they'll go through a kickoff, like I said, a workshop that are going to be presented by these young people right here. They're going to be doing the energizers. They're going to be doing the workshops and the training. We as adults are there to help them and to guide them, but they are the ones who really have the impact with their colleagues and their young people. So if, like I said, you know of any young people, definitely get in contact with us. We do have some additional new funding, like I said, to work on opioids and also prescription drugs. So if that's something else that you're interested in, want to become a part of, become involved in, learn more about, please feel free to contact us. And when you see a young person, smile at a young person, say hello to a young person, and interact with them, because most young people just need a caring adult to make the difference for them. And so thank you.
And Jeff, come on up here. You're not hiding. Come on, it's not about you, but come on. Let's introduce ourselves.
I'm Thomas Daniels. I'm in 10th grade.
Elian Daniels, I'm in 8th grade.
You guys related.
Joseph Long. I'm also in 10th grade.
I'm Corzo Simmons, also in 10th grade.
I'm Tiara Oriel, I'm in 9th grade. I'm Maya Murray, I'm in 9th grade.
Well, we have a resolution for all of you, but more importantly, what do you think this program does for you in terms of just confidence, teamwork, and what do you want to be when you get older?
Well, basically for me, it improves my personal stuff, such as communication issues. And I'd say when I want to be older, I expect myself to perform on Broadway, any musical.
What do you want to be when you grow up? The first one, how's the program helping?
The program is helping me by stopping me from using drugs, and I want to be an MLB player.
Yeah, what position? Nice, all right.
The program has helped me because it basically has given me back faith for the community. I thought the community was going down the crapper, but now it's there are some good people back in the community, and I also want to become a Broadway actor.
All right.
actually helped me like really a lot. It helped me get together with these people, and it teaches me about friendship and teamwork. And when I grow up, I want to be a justice lawyer.
Oh my gosh, come on, at least tell us, what do you want to be, college? Do you want to go to college?
Forensic science.
Yeah. She had a lip gloss line that she started, and she's not talking about it.
Oh, an entrepreneur with a lip gloss line too, look at that. How about yourself? Come on, real quick. Don't worry, you keep it high when you answer. All right, OB, there we go. Obstetrician is that, and obstetrician. All right, I'm not sure if it stood for something else. All right, and please, add anything that was missed. You said add anything that they missed, or the group?
See, listen, this has been a struggle for the last couple of months, but no, I appreciate working with every last one of you. You guys have extremely different personalities that I get to channel in every single day. And sometimes we go back and forth on a regular basis. Everybody knows. But no, I wouldn't ask for a better team than you guys. Like, awesome. And I know for a fact that you guys have set in motion because all summer I've been drilling into what is your passion, what do you want to be. So it's still an ongoing thought process. Like, when you guys went to Rhode Island, the first night it was just, all right, I'm ready to go home. Then after that, it was, I could go away college. So, putting that in the air, looking forward to see what you guys do.
It's awesome. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, these are our future leaders, and we have an obstetrician, we have a forensic scientist, a Major League Baseball player, an attorney, a couple Broadway. I am psyched here. Look out. Dream team right here, folks. Let's give them a hand. Just real quick, we'll just read this commendation certificate. This is on behalf of all the city council, and Deb Garrett actually nominated you. So, whereas the Troy Drug-Free Community Coalition promotes a vision of a healthier, safer, more prosperous Troy by implementing evidence-based prevention strategies that are proven to reduce youth substance abuse. And whereas the youth committee, known as the Dream Team, Drug Resistance Education and More, works to prevent substance abuse among middle and high school students, and whereas Dream Team members have been recognized by other organizations for their service to the community and the fact that they promote positive engagement opportunities for youth by youth. And whereas the Troy Drug-Free Community Coalition believes that good things happen when the community comes together. Let's hear that again. Good things happen when the community comes together.
Good things happen when the community comes together.
All right. The City Council hereby thanks the Troy Drug-Free Community Coalition for the many positive programs they put on for the youth of Troy, New York, and for building our community here in the city of Troy. Thank you very, 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 very much. Okay, now Jim Gully didn't coach any of you. Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah, I took like 7.
Let's give it up for the Troy Dream Team. And last and definitely not least, this is all Deb Garrett. It's all her fault, folks. No, I'm kidding. This is awesome. This is what it's all about. All right? The ARC After School Program. Where are you? Yay. Okay, so Penny, who's the executive director, couldn't be here, but we have the board, and we have Ariana, and we have, see, I knew it, we have Mark, and, okay, so, first and foremost, tell us about the ARC, introduce yourselves, And how do you feel you play an important role in the community? Perfect, Jessica. Jessica. You're, yeah. He's just a board member.
No, Mark is awesome. No, my name is Jessica. I'm the program director, so I'm always on site. And we run an after-school program and also a summer camp. And in our after-school program, we also do specialized programs such as like drumming, steel pan drumming. We do culture enrichment. We do hip hop dance. We just started a tap dancing program. Basically, the ARC is there for all kids from all schools. Any district can come to our program. We have kids from Green Tech. We have kids from School 16, Lyshkill Middle School, South Colony. So we accept all kids. And we want them to go into a place where it's safe and they can be themselves and be positive and just have fun. We give out clothes, we give out shoes, we give out school supplies. We try to do it all. And we just want a safe place they can go and just be themselves and have fun. Lots of homework, not all homework. No. We also have a basketball program, which last year they went to their first tournament, AAU tournament, allowed them to come in and play, and it was they had a blast.
That's awesome. Maybe let's hear from you guys and then the board members. Yeah, what's your name? Jalen? Lyshkill. What's your name and what school?
Kamaya, Hudson Valley Community College.
All right. All right, that's a compliment. Do not be offended. When you turn my age, you want to be, okay?
My name is Diasha and I go to Troy High.
Very cool. What grade?
I'm a senior.
Nice. You going to college?
Yes.
Whereabouts?
I'm not sure yet.
Okay, all right. What do you want to do? Any idea, major?
Pediatrics.
All right, very nice, very nice. Okay, how about you?
My name is Taraji and I go to Troy Prep.
Nice, okay. Do you go with Deb's children?
Hmm?
Oh, yeah. Gotcha. Okay, and what's your name?
Devon,
Yvonne, where do you go to school?
School 16.
Nice. Do you like school 16? Great. What do you want to be when you get older?
Holly.
All right. Very good. Did the board want to add anything? Like what's on the horizon for the ARC? Ariana? Anyone? Mark?
Well, it's interesting because this became very much a collaboration with myself and Penny after the closing of the school. And surviving that event and having the ARC continue on after that as the after-school program is really to her credit. She really has been in the trenches for the last 5 years since the school closed. I'm trying to think. My son, that's 5 or 6 years since the school closed. And the thing that I'm proud of is that the board that you see before you today really represents the community that we serve. When I became president of the board, we did not have a single member of a minority community on our board. And now I would say I'm the only person who isn't a member of a minority community on our board. And it has been a complete transformation of the leadership of this organization. It's really to Penny's credit. I really wish Penny could have been
Deb, did you want to add anything? I think your children go to ARC, don't they?
Yeah, my kids went for the summer program. Penny is awesome. I wish she was here. Her daughter had play rehearsal. Penny is one of those people who have been doing community work for years and got disrespected. I want to say nobody recognized the work that she does. Penny oversaw the Boise Risk Club in Albany. She oversaw another program in I think Schenectady. So Penny is awesome. Penny is the real deal, and she's willing to help anybody. She goes to the after-school program, even though she's the executive director. She'll go in there and cook, clean. She puts herself as her staff. She would ask her staff if she would do the same work. So I'm on the board there. So I didn't want to nominate them because I was on the board, but I wanted to make sure that she was going to be recognized for the work that they're doing. That's amazing.
We applaud Penny, and please tell her that we we're sorry we missed her, and we're incredibly thankful for her keeping this alive. And you all should know, I attended St. Patrick's from kindergarten to 5th grade. So I have many, many, many memories in the schoolyard and at the school. So, you know, I know it's just a huge nucleus in the community. So when that closed, first the school, and then the art came in, revived it, then art closed. Now to see it revived, it's awesome, and is just a huge hub in the cornerstone of North Central. So congratulations on everything you do. Anything we can do to help you keep moving forward, let us know. And I will tell you, in the schoolyard, they used to have dress-up days. So the girls would have to wear shorts under our uniform. Okay, so, but needless to say, it truly brings back lots of memories. And we thank you for everything you do. And we have a resolution here whereby, whereas each day the ARC After School program serves 125 students ages 6 to 12 that live in the socioeconomically distressed neighborhoods of North Troy and Lansingburg. And whereas the program is based on cultural enrichment and academic achievement, including math, literacy, athletics, technology, and social recreation. See, it's not all homework. And whereas it works closely with school staff to identify students' needs and implement strategies that align with curriculum. And whereas it offers a healthy snack program to promote positive nutrition outcomes while engendering, good lifestyle choices. The City Council hereby thanks the ARC After School program for the invaluable and inspiring work that they do for the children and families of North Troy and Lansingburg, North Central. Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to give you this, okay? Ian, let's grab a quick picture. Come on in. Everybody say on 3, the ARC. 1, 2, 3. ARC.
All right.
Let's give it up to the ARC folks. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. We'll begin the regular business of the council in 2 minutes. I want to once again thank everyone for joining us tonight. The Good News folks really are very, very truly inspiring. Thank you again. Thank you. All right, we will go into the public forum section. This public forum is the first of 2. The first one, you can talk about anything on the agenda. You have 5 minutes. No problem. If we'll take a minute, let you walk out. It's fine. Take care. Bye-bye. It's a school night. You have to go home.
Oh.
That doesn't mean the council can go. Take care. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you again. Thank you. Thank you again, guys. Thank you. He doesn't play baseball. He doesn't play baseball anymore. He golfs. Thank you again. All right, we'll go into the public forum. The first public forum is anything on the agenda. If you could just state your name and address for the record. You have 5 minutes, and we would open it up to anyone that would like to speak. And everyone feels so far away now.
You're all welcome to move up to the front of the room.
Yeah, if anyone would like to. Okay. Okay, we're going to close the first public forum unless anyone would like to speak.
Hi. So I'm going to say a couple things. I'm actually here in two roles. My name is Dave Pablo. I live at 38 First Street in Troy. I also am one of the regular contributors to the all-volunteer radio crew over at WOOC, which is, of course, a reflection of the Troy community and the news that we try and cover. I reached out.
Oh, yeah, one has to stay open. Thank you. Thank you, John. Sorry.
I reached out in the last week following the pair of articles in the Times Union about the ordinance that you guys are going to be talking about and I guess voting on tonight about One Monument Square. I want to thank Councilmember Anasha Cummings for meeting with me on Saturday and having an interview with me about this matter and some other things. I also left a message for the council president, and I was sad not to hear back from you. So, well, that was last Friday. I used your whatever general number you have on the city website. So just I'm always eager to talk to you in the future about things like this. So, and that was basically the message from WOC is that we are there as the resource. And I know that a number of you have talked to some of my colleagues on different occasions over the course of the recent election cycle, of course. But for other issues that are coming up that you feel strongly about, that you want to get more in touch with the community about through whatever means are available, and radio is certainly one of them, please reach out to us. And then I'm also here as a citizen regarding the same thing, the One Monument Square. My background is somewhat eclectic. And I'm going to step outside the boundaries of journalism, even if it is volunteer journalism, and express my opinion about something. So as I was saying, my background is eclectic. I've worked in farming. I've worked in public service. When I lived in Massachusetts, I was a mediator for the Attorney General's office for a couple of years, and various things like that. And stepping back to summer of 2018, the charrette I thought was a very positive development in the evolution of the redevelopment of One Monument Square. And there were a number of opinions that were expressed there, some of which seem to have made it through, and others, one in particular, and that's what I want to talk about tonight, seems to have gone by the wayside, and that's the issue of the farmers market. Now, I understand that completely blanking on it. I want to say the Matrix, but that's not the Matrix. The space that they're in the Witcher right now. Atrium, which is kind of its own matrix, and that's why it keeps coming up, I think. It is a flawed space for the farmers market, and it always will be. There are some people and business entities that are very fortunate, like our deputy mayor has a very prime spot when you walk in, and I see a brisk business going on. If you are a vendor that is stuck in one of the hallways in the atrium, the level of foot traffic is minimal, and I can't see that being successful for those people in the long run. In the last week when I was reaching out to Anasha and Carmela and various other people, I also spoke with, let's see, should have written his name down, but I didn't. Anyway, various people in the know about the past developments of One Monument Square, evolution of Troy architecture, things like that. And one of the things that came up repeatedly was that the city does not want to get into creating a space that will be vacant for everything except for the farmers market. And I can appreciate that, but the point that I want to make today is that just as the atrium is flawed, other cities have spaces which are not flawed, like Pike Place in Seattle, or the Reading Terminal down in Philadelphia, or there are a number of things. I lived in Boston and Somerville, Massachusetts for a number of years. There are markets there that function full time. And I want you to consider that. I will, of course, be trying to get this opinion through to the planning committee in the future. And I realize that this may seem like a charrette redux, but I think it's a point that needs to be made. That space that you have, I'm glad that you are teaming up, trying to team up and with with outside vendors in a more open way, in a way that reflects the opinion of the community. In theory, anyway, we'll see how it goes. I understand you have an alternative opinion about that, Carmela. So, but just try and keep that farmer's market in view there, because if you have some sort of space that has perhaps vendors in an enclosure that are there all the time, but you have an open space that is filled once a week, or on occasion, other occasions with vendors that come in, you have a space where people want to go. You have a space where that farmer's market can fall back in the summer when it rains. You have a space that is not just, as it is right now, covered in 20 inches of snow and unusable. So that's the only point that I want to get through. And thank you very much for your community service.
Thank you. Very well said.
How you doing? Vic Christopher, 12 2nd Street. I'd like to support the developers on this project. I mean, it's such a sad state of events that we're still here a decade later talking about the same site. Everyone is exhausted by this project. The atrium, it took 2 decades though, so hopefully this doesn't drag on another 10 years. But anything can happen in Troy, New York, or nothing can happen when it comes to One Monument Square. Would be very upset if we were able to develop this site, or all the designers, architects, surveyors, the people that put these proposals together. Probably when you think about the amount of money invested in Monument Square in the past 10 years, in terms of pictures of buildings that'll never be built, it's probably over $2 million. And which is essentially kind of what happened back in the day with the atrium. We're on the same path. We're all to blame. I share some of that blame. I hyped up that site. I said it was going to be the game changer for the city of Troy. At that time, 10 years ago, John Nigro offered to pay $1 million for that site. 2.5, 3 years ago, Sonny Bonaccio and Bowtie Cinemas, their offer was $660,000. It didn't work. And not only that, in the process, we embarrassed ourselves by disrespecting 2 of the greatest development companies in the history of the Capital Region. I feel that, we've got some really good guys on the hook right now. I thought they would have walked by now. I thought they were out. And I was thrilled to hear that they weren't out. I think they have great intentions. What we're asking of them is a huge ask. We've turned around and we went to the public with a charrette series, and we asked for a public project. Well, of course, when you ask the public what they want, it's going to be a public project. And I said to myself, we're never going to get a partner on board who's willing to kind of get into business with us, considering our track record as being so terrible with this site. But the Hoboken Brownstone Company is into it, and they're here. And I believe that they're sincere and that they're going to try to make this thing work. Anything we can do to support these guys, we have to at this point. We got to stop this fight. We look silly. It's embarrassing. We're the laughing stock along the Hudson River when it comes to the site. I mean, it's absolutely pathetic. And so I would just ask everybody, not just the council, but I'm going to be asking everybody in the city of Troy, just please support these guys. We've done such a terrible job with the previous potential investors of this site, and it can no longer continue if we want to move forward. You look at what's happening privately. We've got over 1,000 brand new construction apartments being built within walking distance of that site. It's all on private land. And no, that's right. And we're still growing. And we're still growing. And we will grow. And I think the private sector in downtown is starting to spread south. We're seeing things in north central Troy. But we have to get beyond this obstacle of One Monument Square. Let's just put it behind us. Let's get with these guys and move forward and move Troy forward in life. Is the deal perfect? No. Everyone has a different opinion about what should happen at that site. Personally, I thought the movie theater was the best idea. You talk about economics, which now all of a sudden we're back to economics. That would have been an economic generator. This is a public project. I support that too. I just want to see progress along with most people in the city of Troy. Thank you.
Thanks, Vic. Would anyone else like to speak on the agenda? And I would just ask that the audience not interject, please. Hi there.
Hi, I'm Jim Scully, 122nd Street. First, I'd like to say that in my years of living downtown, I'm pushing 30 years, that this snowstorm was the best executed snow removal I've seen in 30 years. And everybody deserves some credit for that. I know, we had to spend a little money to get it done, but 900 people showed up at the music hall on a Tuesday when other towns were still digging out. 900 for a show on a Tuesday in a blizzard. So we deserve, the mayor and his staff and the council, everybody deserves some credit for what happened during this last snowstorm. It was the best ever. And I'd also like to reiterate what I said at the Finance Committee meeting about the Monument Square project. I'm in favor of approving the option through the LDC. Hoboken Brownstone needs the time to spend the money that they need to spend to get the approvals done on this project. Why would they do it if they didn't know they were going to be the developer? So this option allows them that opportunity. You wouldn't spend $600,000 to have, the deal pulled out from under you, and that's $600,000 you're asking for, Camilla, but you just wouldn't do that. Nobody would do that. So they need the time to go through the process of doing this. And our job as a city is that we're going to be their partner because there is a public component. And the value of that public component is substantial. There's lots of parking. There's an esplanade down to the river. There's a tie-in to Monument Square. All of that is available for the city use, the public. So we have to cooperate with Hoboken Brownstone in order to get this project done. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Kim.
Thank you.
How you doing?
Hi there.
My name's Kevin Fuller. Want to introduce myself. I'm born and raised in the city of Troy.
Oh, hold on a sec. Just hit this side.
It's off. I don't know why it's lit.
Just want to say my name's Kevin Fuller. I'm born and raised in the city of Troy. I went to Troy High, graduated from Catholic High. I joined the electrical union. I've been a union member for 15 years. I represent 200 electricians in the city of Troy. I am a member of the Greater Building Trades of the Capital District. We have serious concerns about this project moving to the LDC. We have some serious questions. We want to make sure, everybody keeps saying this is a public project. We want to make sure that this is a public project and this is going to go prevailing rate. We want to make sure that the apprenticeship language that this council had passed, Resolution 72, a couple meetings ago, is going to be in effect. Now, I know everybody, and there's enough players in this crowd that can answer these questions and put it in the meeting minutes. I know I had spoke to Jim Gully on the phone. I had asked you about the apprenticeship language. Is the apprenticeship language going to be attached to the LDC project? Our apprenticeship language is attached to LDC projects. Can you answer that? Or can you have the members in the crowd answer that question?
When we get to the agenda, we'll answer
Okay.
that.
Okay,
Good.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you.
Thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak on any item? Hi there.
Hi, good evening, all. My name is Doris Day. I live on Standard Avenue in Troy, New York. I'm speaking on the One Monument Square proposal. And I want to say this to the council. I hope that you all will consider tabling this, or I don't really feel that at this point in time with the council members going out, that it is fair to the residents of this city that you all make this decision at this time of how One Monument Square is to be developed. I've lived in Troy all my life. And one thing I don't understand is how we are a city with no city hall when we are renters in our city. One Monument Square was supposed to be redone as the city hall. There was money funded there we were supposed to match. Now, the next thing we know, we're sitting on the 5th floor of a building and we're paying astronomical rent for 8 to 10 years. We could have built a city hall by now. Now, everybody says, oh, Hoboken is a wonderful thing to hand over. I don't think that it's fair to the people, because we really don't know all the underlying facts behind this. You're saying $600,000. We went from $2.2 million for that site down to $600,000. I don't understand what something is depreciated in that value. And the next thing is, as Mr. Christopher says, we have spent an enormous amount of money with charrettes and all different kind of factors of how we're going to develop something, which was intended to be our city hall. The next thing I want to say about this whole process is I don't really see the benefit for the total residents of Troy, because once we hand that property over and they develop it, where's the benefit to the little guy other than that we filled the hole? All right, we did this already. We've done this dance. The city of Troy was once a very vibrant place. We had a downtown. People came out and did things. You walk down here at 9 o'clock after night, and all you see is people going into restaurants or bars or whatever, or derelicts. We're a dead city, and that's sad that Troy has become that. But we're responsible for that. And so I don't know that necessarily handing over this piece of property to these developers is going to be, for this city, the best thing in the long run. We have sold off a parking garage. We have torn down City Hall. We have given away everything that we have in value in this city. Proctor's Theater, we have nothing. And with this, we keep getting hit with taxes. I'm paying for garbage I never paid for before. I get hit with higher taxes. I don't see any new equipment for garbage refuse. I didn't see any change in the recycling. All I know is I'm paying for something more than what I ever paid for, and I'm getting nothing. Our city is dirty, and nobody seems to really have any solutions of where we're going to go, other than that we're going to sit here and argue and make little innuendos about what Monument Square can be. Troy is a joke. Everybody calls us Troylet. Sometimes I'm afraid, I hate to tell people where I'm from, because the backlash of being humiliated about what my hometown is. I love Troy. I love Troy. I was born and raised here. You know, I put a lot of effort into this city. I know a lot of people have put effort, but I don't know if we're all on the same track where we're all going to agree that this is the best thing for Troy. I want to say it like this: give me back my city hall. Give me some parking downtown Troy. Clean my city up. That's what I want to see. So if everybody thinks that Hoboken is going to be the solution, I don't know. I see all this new housing that's going up, and I wonder, well, who's going to live in these apartments? And what are they doing for the tax base? Because they're not paying taxes, they're paying rent. So I don't see that the whole benefit to the city of Troy is. And we keep more and more and more housing, and they say market rate. And hey, the average guy's market rate is like $1,000, but most people can't afford this. So we're catering to a group of people where I don't really see where they are. RPI, Hudson Valley, I don't know. I just see a lot of younger people leaving this area because they said there's nothing here, especially in this city. There's nothing here other than if you work for Albany. So I just want you all to consider that when you think about handing over or giving this to the IDA, I think we need to have transparency. I think we need to move with integrity. I think you need to let people know what's really going on here and let them decide that what belongs to them, how it's utilized, not just that the council is going to say, okay, this is the best thing for Troy, because what you have all decided in the past has not necessarily been so. And that's all I have to say. Have a good night.
Thank you, Doris. Would anyone else like to speak on any item on the agenda? Hi there.
Good evening, Council. My name is Phil Stengline. I represent the Sheet Metal Workers Building Trade Construction Union. I'm a resident of Ballston Spa, but I represent many members that live here in the city. As I want to speak on the resolution or the ordinance about handing over the One Monument Square, follow up a little bit on what my predecessor Kevin said, but also touch on a couple different things and some of the things the other speakers brought up on how it could benefit the whole city of Troy. And I understand that the problems that have been wrought with this project over the years and everything that's happened, and you need to do the right thing. And a couple months ago, we sat in this meeting and we listened to resident after resident come up to this microphone and talk about the apprenticeship resolution and how that apprenticeship program, we heard from all different members of the community. We heard from all different races, white, African-American, Latino. We heard from veterans. We heard from single moms. We heard from single dads and former non-union workers, how the apprenticeship program has changed their lives and their families' lives. And you as a council did the right thing and passed that resolution. And we have the fear that now that you have that resolution to help members of the city of Troy, that handing this over to the IDA, as has been our experience in Schenectady and Albany and Saratoga and Rensselaer County and Albany County, it becomes the Wild West. And many of our members and our apprentices do not get to work on these projects because these contractors may come in and they may well be reputable, but they bring in their workforce from out of the area. There's no accountability with the IDA that says we have any
I
language.
apologize. I do not like to interrupt, but it's the LDC. Similar. but it's
LDC,
LDC.
yes, I understand.
Yep, sorry.
CRC in Albany, Metroplex in Schenectady.
got it.
It's yeah, I get it. Sorry about that.
No, it's okay.
So that is our fear. And when we talk about how it's going to benefit the city of Troy and the residents, whether it's a public project, what it's going to be a city hall, a farmer's market area, one of the things that people think about how it's going to benefit the city of Troy residents after the project is built. What a lot of people don't think about is how is it going to benefit our residents while the project's being built. And that's the construction workers. Where are they coming from? How much are they getting paid? Do they have a career? Are they in an apprenticeship program? Are they working safe? And that's what that resolution did. When you passed that resolution, it was to guarantee that residents of the community would be able to get on a path to the middle class, get into these apprenticeship programs and work locally here and be able to afford a house, an apartment, a good way of life, a middle class way of life, which is disappearing. I had a young man just 2 hours before this meeting call me at my office when I stopped. He left a message. I called him back. His name is Demas Vargas, and he lives at Corlear Park Apartments in Troy. He's gone through the steps to get in our apprenticeship program, and he called and asked me, Mr. Stengline, when am I going to go to work? And I told him, Demas, I have no idea. When our contractors get more work, then we will call you to put you to work and put you into the apprenticeship program. There's a resident of the city of Troy waiting to go to work, and I don't have a place for him right now because our contractors don't have enough work. So please, if you do pass this over to the IDA, and I understand the position you're in, trust me, I know there's a lot of publicity and everything that's going on with this project. Please do the right thing and have some kind of accountability where the apprenticeship language will be used on this project. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak on any item on the agenda?
Hello. Hi, my name is Deanna Del Paz. I'm a resident of Troy at 275 Apartment 2A in the Dauchi building, right downtown. Can't be any closer to Monument Square than me, practically. And I'm also a commercial real estate broker. But I like to consider myself as sort of a mini urban development planner because I really am trying very hard to bring in just the kind of tenants and office companies and various people to keep this city vibrant and exciting and alive. And I've been here for a number of years. I've watched a lot happen. I've not had the war wounds that many people have had in this room. But I can tell you that from a marketing, commercial, real estate type focus point, and of course as a resident, you want vibrancy. And all due respect to Doris and some of the folks that just spoke on the that are the people that would be hired by companies like Hoboken. We need vibrancy, we need energy, we need excitement, we need not a hole in the ground that is sitting there looking like a dead construction site. It's not also something that you want to fill with nice trees and plants and just make it a nice waterfront either. It has to be a vibrancy. It's the center of our town. It is a collaboration of many different people. I did an analysis. I came up with and counted 1,215 apartments in the last few years, of which 459 have already been leased. I'm in one of them. 756 are on the docket to be leased. The Troy Record Building, for example, 101 apartments leased before it even opened. They're opening a whole nother property going on full on now. So people are coming to town. They're mixed use. There's workforce housing. There's all sorts of different projects to make sure that people are looked after, taken care of, that can live down here. There is affordable housing, and there's even more development that'll happen to make sure that everybody's going to be taken care of. But we need energy, we need excitement, we need the atrium, we need that markets, we need businesses. Retail is a different animal nowadays. So somebody like Hoboken to come in here to take on this project after 4 others have failed, and they're willing to put and have put a lot of money forth to get it done, to let them get through this project in the most efficient and appropriate manner. That's not to say that the LDC is going to just let anything happen. I go to every single one of those meetings. I sit in on them. I make my comments, and anybody in this entire market has that opportunity to do so. So these things are going to be looked after and taken care of. We just need to make it more efficient and appropriate so that developers don't come and fall to the wayside, which has already happened 4 times. So I'm absolutely in favor of this, and please consider this option. Thank you.
Thank you, Deanna. Would anyone else like to speak on any item on the agenda?
Steve Riddler, 185 Second Street. I just want to say that I think I live in a different city than what I've just heard about some of the things. I think you should actually, when you step to the podium, be proud to be a Trojan. I'm from England, but I have lived here for 30 years now. Most of that time, that's been a hole in the ground, I think. But, you know, just to let you know that I really have taken a number of projects across the state through this type of process. LDCs have been a very integral part of doing that. It has never been, in my opinion, a process that has short-circuited any reviews, has short-circuited any council involvement. It's been very thorough and a very effective way to allow a developer to tackle the uncertainty of developing tough projects. So I urge you to go forward with that. I also would remind you that this is the first step. All of the stuff that we talked about in terms of prevailing wage and unions and all that stuff all comes later as the financing starts to come into play. Don't start to be worried about putting the cart before the horse. You're at the first stage, and getting this passed tonight will get you a long way to moving this project forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Would anyone else like to speak on any item on the agenda? All right, we're going to close the public forum section. We will go into the regular meeting vacancy list, I believe was...
It was attached to the revised agenda.
Very good. Yep. Thank you, Mara. Local laws, we have none. Ordinance 109.
Ordinance authorizing and directing sales by the proposal sale method of city-owned real property. Council President Mantello at the request of the administration.
Do I have a motion? Motion, Councilmember Cummings. Do I have a second? Second, Councilmember Garrett. I did make mention of the properties that are going to be sold, and originally it was going to be for $800. Now it's going to be.
It was always going to be.
It was an error. It was an error. So it stated 800. It actually was 200. So I did speak to folks in the surrounding area, and they would like to meet. They are not sure what's going on, and they would just like to meet with the folks, find out what is going on. They're a little concerned because one of them, I believe, wanted to potentially do something with the property. So I know that, you know, you've had some conversations, et cetera, saying that the neighborhood would be happy to meet with the Conservancy, the Alliance, and I really would like to hold off on this until the neighbors feel comfortable with the proposal that's moving forward. And as I said, I'm sure it's a good proposal. I'm just requesting they can meet between now and hopefully the 19th. We can bring it back on the 19th. We do have a special meeting. I would just like to carve out those properties near Euclid Avenue, just so the neighbors feel more comfortable with the proposal that's put forward.
Sure, Council President.
Yep, Councilmember Cummings.
Obviously, I think this is a project that's going to have to go forward with broad collaboration from the neighborhood. And I don't think this delay would cause any problem for it. I do want to make sure that it's more than the one person who has a property in the middle of this.
Yes.
Because I have spoken to that person and I think he's fully aware of what we're doing and it's fully aligned with what he wants to see happen. But I guess as long as there's,
yeah,
what's the broader concern?
Yeah, it's more the neighborhood in these, I should say, southern end of Euclid Ave. They just want to know exactly what's going to happen. Is it going to be forever wild? Is it going to be a trail? They're kind of a little concerned only because it's more forever wild now. It's more primitive. Is it going to be more user friendly in terms of not keeping it forever wild and maybe putting amenities in? They like it forever wild. So just to get that southern portion of the neighborhood more in tune with what the proposal is, because really a concrete proposal has not been put forth. There's been a lot of behind the scenes conversations, very positive. Nobody right now is being negative toward this. They just need a little more understanding what's going to happen, because it's not only going to impact the immediate folks right near the proposed site, it's going to have an impact on that neighborhood. So that's why. Yeah. Council member.
Sure. If there is any future, any kind of development to the project, would the project and design have to go before the planning commission?
Not if they're just going to do trail. If they're going to develop, I would think like a building or something. But, when they talk amenities right now, it's pretty much brush and forever wild. If they're going to make it a little more user friendly, I don't think they need to go before planning for that. But this is in front of us now.
Okay.
It's proposed to be sold. And all I'm asking, let's just table
Council
those
President.
few properties until a neighborhood meeting can happen. That's all.
Why didn't you meet with them before the meeting?
They couldn't meet. I told you that at the last finance meeting. With Thanksgiving holiday, which happened right before the finance meeting, I informed everyone we could not get the neighborhood together until post Thanksgiving.
I do just want confirmation from Corporation Council Caruso that we can split these 4 off and bring them back in a new resolution.
Yeah, of course they can.
I know there's been back and forth in the past about do we table it versus not, but
We can just carve out the 4.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Help me out here. What properties are we referring to? We're talking about.
Yeah, we're talking
land-
15, 50, the
Rensselaer Land Trust?
Rensselaer Land Trust.
All right.
Yeah, so I just want to carve those out, Jim.
Here's my greater
amend it to
concern.
take it.
My greater concern is this. What if the neighbors say, we don't like what they're planning to do with this? Are we letting the neighborhood then determine what the city of Troy does with these properties?
Well, it should be a partnership. That's why the neighborhood meeting should happen prior to disposing this property, because it's going to have a huge impact on their property values, on their living every day. The whole idea for these properties is to ensure that the properties are going into good hands, B, more importantly, going to improve that neighborhood. You want the neighborhood on board. By tonight, just approving it, they might actually get very negative. So let's get them on board first. That's how things happen. Let's get them on board. Let's have a nice conversation, neighborhood meeting, and get everybody on the same page.
I'm not arguing with you. I have what I believe is a reasonable question. This decision to sell to these people was made by whom?
A committee.
The committee made up of city council members, correct?
It's made up of a minority, majority, but a full administrative staff.
All
It's a
right. Were these
subcommittee.
questions raised before, or is this the first time?
They were raised
It
at our
was-
finance meeting.
Yeah,
All right.
the finance.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not
These are issues
suggesting
that
you
we-
can't do this. There are just questions I have. I don't know if this sets a
Yeah.
dangerous precedent.
No, the subcommittee doesn't make the ultimate decision. The
Okay.
subcommittee recommends. Ultimately, the council has to approve it.
I find no reason why you can't, if majority vote, you can carve out. I believe you can.
And bring it back next week.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, because you're only looking to
Without a
table
new
a portion
recommendation.
thereof, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. Thank you, Jim. So I'll make a motion just to carve out 15 Carlisle, 3 Stanford, 20 Carlisle, 10 Carlisle. And as I said, we can have a neighborhood meeting between
So
now and the 19th.
You're gonna organize that?
Yep.
Great.
Yep. So I'll make a motion to carve those properties out to the Rensselaer Land Trust pending a meeting. We'll bring it back on the 19th.
So, Chair,
Yes.
the meeting, other than it taking place, will have no impact on this.
I can't say that. It's up to the neighborhood and the land trust. Let them
But that-
work it
that-
out.
Has that ever, are you like saying that should change the process for disposing city property?
I mean, to be clear, I don't think the
That's
land
the
trust.
precedent, that's the precedent that.
We don't always rubber stamp. No, you have it wrong.
No,
The
I know.
council is not the rubber stamp to the real property committee. The real property
I didn't say we
committee
were a rubber stamp.
makes recommendations. It's our job. We represent the neighborhoods. When a neighborhood comes to us and says, and we have done this before, we have tabled surplusing property due to concerns of that neighborhood. This has a neighborhood concern. I'm asking to table to rectify those concerns.
And just to be clear about the process, months ago when we found that these were on the disposition committee, I went up and canvassed the neighborhood, knocked on every door I could find, talked about, hey, what's the history of this site? What's going on here? What do you want out of it? Basically heard a lot of, we want it to continue to be open space. We don't want it to be developed. That's where I think this is a good solution to keep that and to meet those needs and meet those interests. But I also know that, the land trust doesn't want to take property in a neighborhood like this that doesn't have full support and buy-in from the neighborhood. They don't have no use for this property, if not as an amenity for that neighborhood. And so I think building that bridge and making sure that they have strong partnerships within the neighborhood as they move forward with this makes a lot of sense. I'm happy to support it.
Absolutely. And that's all I'm looking for. Let's just get them in one room. They're going to love this at the end of the day. I mean, they want to see it Forever Wild. So I fully expect everyone to partner and move this forward. So
Can I ask, is Councilmember Cummings seconding
I
the
will
motion?
second the
Thank you.
motion.
Okay. So we're going to carve out, and also just for the record, it is 200 for all 4 properties, not 800 for 4. Okay. Further discussion?
I just got a question.
Sure, Councilmember Garrett.
Are we doing that for all the properties? Like ensuring that the community are involved with the decisions that's happening?
Should always happen. We should always, when we hear from residents, the Councilmember Garrett, for instance, there was a property, I want to say, for the 2 rounds ago, where some neighbors actually came forward. They were very concerned about the proposed sale. We tabled it. So if we hear from the neighborhood, we should definitely take that into consideration when we vote on this.
I ask only because I don't think a lot of people in the community know that they have that voice to be able to say like, okay, what can they connect happen?
Yeah, and I would encourage like council members, that's a really good point, like in the future, if the districts are informing, at least maybe posting it, these are the sales. I know it's on social media, it's certainly on our website, but the more we can get the word out to the neighborhood of these sales are very, very important. Further discussion? All in favor? On the amendment, aye. Opposed? Okay, on the amended ordinance 109, do I have a motion on the amended?
Motion.
Motion, Councilmember Gully. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember December. Discussion? All in favor on the amended ordinance? Aye. Opposed? Okay.
Ordinance 109 passes 7 ayes, 0 noes.
And I'll get that meeting together. Ordinance 110.
Ordinance declaring certain city-owned property as surplus and directing the comptroller to dispose of said property. Council President Mantello at the request of the administration.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion, Councilmember Parator. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Gully. Discussion?
Council President?
Yes, Councilmember Cummings.
Given that we haven't officially sold the previous properties, is it possible that we can merge these in with the neighboring properties before the next meeting? Or is that going to be a new process?
So what you would like is,
I mean,
do you want to hold off on these?
No, I want to pass this obviously, and we'll split it apart. But
Mhm.
I also want staff to investigate whether they can be merged in now or whether it's going to have to go through a new disposition process.
Oh, okay. Can someone answer that from the
It's probably not an
administration?
immediate question.
Okay,
Look
All
into it.
all right. Fair enough.
Thank you.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Ordinance 110 passes 7 ayes, 0 noes.
Ordinance 111.
Ordinance declaring certain city-owned property as surplus and directing the comptroller to dispose of said property. Council President Mantello at the request of the administration.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Kennedy. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Gully. Discussion. These are 3 Ford Crown Vics, the Chevy Impala, and Nissan Maxima, if anyone's interested. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Ordinance 111 passes 7 ayes, 0 noes.
Ordinance 112.
Ordinance transferring funds within the 2019 general fund budget. Council President Mantello at the request of the administration.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Kennedy. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Gully. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Ordinance 112 passes 7 ayes, 0 noes.
Ordinance 113.
Ordinance amending ordinance amending the Code of Troy, Chapter 216-7, Freer Park Municipal Golf Fees. Councilmember Cummings at the request of the administration.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion, Councilmember Parator. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Garrett. On the discussion, I don't think anyone enjoys raising fees, but after reviewing the fees for the course, I do believe that the administration made a super case regarding the golf fees. And I know that Councilmember Gully was very in tune with those fees also, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Ordinance 113 passes 7 ayes, 0 noes.
All right. Ordinance 114.
Ordinance authorizing the city to create a capital project and amending the capital projects fund and general fund budgets to allow funding for said capital project. Council President Mantello at the request of the administration.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Kennedy. Do I have a second? Second, Councilmember Garrett. This is the capital project for Campbell Ave Spring Ave. We did get an update. Did anyone have further discussion on that or questions? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Ordinance 114 passes 7 ayes, 0 noes.
All right. Ordinance 115.
Ordinance authorizing the disposition of an option to acquire certain city property to the Troy Local Development Corporation with respect to the One Monument Square site. Councilmember Cummings at the request of the administration.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion, Councilmember Parator. Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Second, Councilmember Kennedy. On the discussion, I know that Steve Strikeman's here. He's the Commissioner of our Economic Development Department. Steve, I know that I had some questions. We had talked about the environmental, the seeker, things to that nature. So I know you wanted to address a few of those things. I also, just for full disclosure, requested information from Steve Strikeman regarding correspondence with the proposed developers, Hoboken, and or their reps, on under a certain section of the charter, the council is actually required to receive information, estimates, and other pertinent correspondence. I was informed that the Corporation Council is not going to allow the forwarding of that correspondence. And my mere
Can you read the code?
request for that, yep, it's section.
Can you read it word for word?
I absolutely can, Councilmember Kennedy. Saying that while I look up the code, I was informed that under this section, I would not be receiving that information. So on two fronts, I asked for the information merely because I was very, very curious if conversations had happened regarding any sale of the property and things of that nature. So under C15, request for reports, information, or estimates, any officer of the city is required upon request to furnish reports, information, or estimates to any counselor of the city of Troy. This is information that I've requested.
So not
And
personal.
a council member, I'm answering your question first.
I just
So
wanted to make
this
sure
is
correspondence-
information.
It sounded
This-
like you said correspondence was in the code. I just wanted to make sure. it was.
Information would qualify as correspondence.
I don't-
Information is very vague, and if you look at the definition of information, it pretty much covers emails, correspondence, it's information.
In what
So-
definition?
Well, my question would be actually to the administration, why withhold information? All I'm asking for is some information. So I'll hand it off to Steve. I know that you have some answers.
Sure. So I'll talk with the you had the questions, and again, I was prepared to answer these questions 2 weeks ago, and they never got answered or never got asked of me. So the first question was the seeker was dated August 22nd. It was always in the RFQ that this would be an option, could be an option to the TLDC. I prepared it early. We looked at the ordinance a number of times. We went back and forth. So initially, I thought we might be bringing this in October. We didn't. We had to tweak the ordinance, so it was done earlier. It was done earlier in the process, and it was just not presented until the legislation came to the city council.
On that note, let's hold right there. So seeker was done in August, legislation was being drafted. I would think just something to the magnitude of this issue.
I agree with you.
especially one monument,
I should have.
a memo to the council. This is honestly what is so troubling and irritating is the fact that we get
Again,
it
this is a
when
seeker.
it's-
This is a seeker on an option. It's really not a large. Neither the transfer nor the option is a big thing, nor is the seeker. There's no impact or anything, and it was just something that happened. And then the legislation did not end up making it through. I did not follow through it with informing the council. But again, there's no impact.
But there is an
There's no impact on the
Here we
environment.
are.
I'm saying there's no impact on the environment. So
Steve, hold
that's
on
what
one
happened.
sec. I feel there's an impact because here we are, the first week of December, and everyone knew in the administration that back in August we were going to be asked to do this. I would have liked notification when you and the administration decided to transfer to the LDC. The timing of this is incredibly suspect, and I think it's very unfair to the council. And that's just my feelings. Go ahead.
So the next question is, it's particular to the EAF. And the question is, how come it says no new residential uses under this project? We don't know what the project is. Again, this is an environmental review on an option. When we know what the project is, then all those things will be evaluated. So we don't know what the project is. So I could not answer whether there was no residential uses. There are, in fact, no residential uses to be built in relation to an option. The residential
Right.
uses, if they are residential uses, will be determined when the project is determined. The other question,
The non-residential, like how can you say that there's not going to be any development?
there is not going to be any development with the approval of an option. It's an option, and then the project gets developed. When the project gets developed, The seeker will talk about the residential, if there's residential, or the commercial. There will absolutely be no residential development because of the issuing of the option. I can't answer that any other way. Let's see. And then you also asked me, ordinance 15, it states that Monument Square property is not required for use by the city because we are declaring it surplus property. So are you telling me now that we don't want to sell this property? I don't understand that question, because how was the determination made? We have been trying to sell this property for 8 or 9 years because there's no use for it. So now we're actually going through the process of making the determination that there's no use that the city needs this property for. So you're declaring it surplus, and then through the project, we'll determine what the use is.
Right.
So
I
that's it. That's the
agree
answer.
with that.
Okay.
Yep.
I don't know if there's any questions on the part 2 of this. Oh, I want to make it clear again that this is an option through the TLDC. It's only a transfer mechanism. So the impact on prevailing wages, any portions of this that are public with public funding or that will be public will be subject to prevailing wage. The developer's project will be the developer's project.
So, and that was a big question, the apprenticeship program, because I was told that the LDC is not bound under
The LDC is not
rules.
The LDC is not undertaking a project. So this project will come back to you for financing or any of those things. At that point, we'll have determined how the structure works. Any public portions will be subject to prevailing wage.
Well, you say it has to come back to the council for funding.
For all the things we discussed at the finance meeting, for any reason this needs to come back, either for financing, for changing the boundaries of the property, or for accepting public land, or moving a street, or abandoning a street, any of that. This will absolutely come back before the city council.
But the project is not going, I know you're kind of mincing words here.
I don't think I'm mincing words.
It's the apprenticeship program.
The apprentice-
Let's be very layman's. This project is not going to be undertaken by the city. So the LDC is going to have control of the property if the option carries through. It's not coming back to
It
the
will
city.
pass through the LDC immediately to the developer. And any public portion of it using public funds, using state funds, will be subject to the prevailing wage.
Bingo, that's the key right there. The prevailing, if the private developer is not bound under, other than potential public monies that the private developer
They may be bound
receives,
under public money.
prevailing wage. I'm asking the apprenticeship, the private developer, I mean, we need to be honest with the folks out there. The private developer is not going to undertake the apprenticeship program.
I believe that any of the public funding for public use would be subject to the apprenticeship program.
Chair,
Councilmember Kennedy.
Commissioner, can you remind the council how the LDC functions? They have open public meetings and they're made up of a board that votes on the decision.
I mean, that's
They
basically
essentially function the same way we do.
Right.
With open
Except
meetings.
they meet in the morning.
Wait, hold on. Are you interrupting?
Right? Councilmember.
Yes, they're public meetings. They are the third Friday of every month, publicly advertised. We are going to be live streaming. The requirement for the IDA to live stream in January. There's no reason we can't start live streaming the LDC meetings as well at the same time.
Council President,
Thank you,
if they-
Councilmember.
If the LDC decides to live stream their meetings, would that make you feel like there's more transparency than there already is?
Councilmember, it's a state law. It's not they're being generous.
It's a state law for the IDA.
It was a yes or no question.
Councilmember, I'm trying to answer your question.
Would you make
A,
me feel more better?
It would not, because
Oh, okay.
A, they meet in the morning. We've all talked about that. If you really want to go through the litmus. B, the LDC, and just so folks are aware, the chair has moved on, phenomenal chair. The board of the LDC, I'm not sure if folks are aware of this also, is you essentially have the city staff. You have Steve Strikeman as the executive director. You have the deputy mayor on the board, and then you have the city council member. There is no
And you
chair.
have Andy
And then
Ross.
you have a
and-
private,
and
I
private,
was
yeah.
just going to say him. And then you have one private person. So essentially, you have, appointments. You have one council member, and our council member right now is council member December. So next year, a new council member will have to come on board. But saying that, the LDC essentially, while we try to make it sound like it's independent, it essentially has, two staff members, no chair right now. But more importantly, not to divert my concern, and I talked about this at length. This will not go to an RFP, and I understand. The whole reason is to directly allow the LDC to hopefully work with the developer. We are all frustrated about One Monument, but as I've stated many times, that doesn't mean that we just stick our heads in the sand and say, okay, give it to the LDC. It was appraised at $600K. There is no dollar, and I've heard that public amenities might happen. There's nothing that we're passing tonight that guarantees public amenities.
It's not true.
We are not, I have the floor right now.
That's not true.
So the $600K that it was appraised for, we are not getting a dime. We're not getting a down payment. Somebody said we're getting $600K. We are not. Somebody said 2.2 to $600K. It was appraised at $600K is tonight being transferred to the option to transfer to the LDC. And if you look at the agreement behind it, there is no dollars being transferred. There are no amenities that are guaranteed here. There are no public portions. We don't have a project in front of us. So we're essentially aimlessly given the option to transfer to the LDC without knowing what the project is, without any guarantee of any of the appraised value. And if you recall, everybody talks about the prior failures. The failure was the fact that there was parkland that was in the prior proposals. Now that parkland has been carved out, which was very smart. The parkland should have been carved out in the prior proposals. We had talked about that. So saying that, continuing to move this forward without what I believe the appropriate scrutiny, I offered 2 amendments. One, that we would receive whatever the sale's for. If the sale's going to be $1, let the city get their $1. That's number one. I'd like to know what the sale is. Number 2, the council should have the final say because we represent the people. Let the LDC negotiate. Let the council have the final say on that sale. Those were my 2 amendments. Councilmember Garrett, you weren't here. It was unfortunately shot down. And I just feel very strongly about this proposal.
Sure.
I'm willing to flex. I'm willing to skirt the RFP, do the LDC transfer, but I want a couple guarantees to the residents and the taxpayers
Sure.
of Troy. So that's what I put forward. Actually, Councilmember Cummings has the floor. You can have the floor after the councilman.
Yeah, just to the point about the accountability for public space that is explicitly in both the contract language and the RFQ language, that the city reserves the right to approval of the final design and layout of the public improvements, including but not limited to the reservation of public spaces, infrastructure, streets, amenities, and rights of ways, easements retained for recreation spaces. The exercise of the option shall be conditioned upon future approval by the city for all deeds, easements, leases, and other permanent reservation of rights in connection with the same. So, I mean, that's in there.
I'll let you, Councilmember.
I am confused why you're using the words like we're aimlessly doing this. There was a public charrette, and there's even a stipulation in the agreement that says the final design should substantially meet the outcome of the charrette process. So that inherently bounds the developer to meet the vision of the city and to give us public amenities. So I really think I'm pleading you to stop misleading the public. That's my plea to you. And I hope my council members, my colleagues will just move this vote. We'll just go ahead and vote. We don't need to discuss this anymore. We discussed it enough at the finance committee meeting. I think we're all ready to vote.
That's great, council member, but we're gonna discuss.
Council President.
Councilmember Gully.
Let's enact an amendment on this agreement. Under
What would
section
you-
4, where it talks about the LDA may include such purchase price
Yep.
provisions as TLC and the company may agree upon, and also include such terms and conditions as deemed
Council member,
necessary.
can you
Excuse
hold
me.
on? No, I'm trying to look it up. That's all.
Well, I'll read it while you look it up. It's there. These are the words that are there. You'll see it when you get to it. Appropriate to allow for reimbursement of qualified costs incurred by the company through the city grant funding. Let's put an amendment and add a line in there that said any proceeds realized from the sale of the property will be accrued back to the city of Troy. That
I
ends
love
that process. If we can pass that through, it will make it easier on everybody.
I love it. I will third it. We have a second. So we would like, we have a motion on the floor, Mara. Section 4, at the end of the section, and read it again. We are going to add a sentence at the end of that. Go ahead, council member.
Any proceeds realized from the sale of the property will occur to the city of Troy.
Accrue.
Accrue.
Accrue,
Okay.
occur, give, get, use any word you want. Let's just get on to the next part.
All right. Now, on the discussion, we have a motion, we have a second, and I have to tell you, council member, as you know, I proposed just that at the last meeting, but I also had a second caveat. My second caveat's not going to happen. I know
Correct.
that.
So let's vote on the amendment on the floor.
I'm trying to tell you. So saying that, it's extremely important, I believe, for the city for any proceeds. I'm hoping it's not going to be for $1. But on that question, council member, is there anything else that we need to add to that? The proceeds of the sale, I think, should we say proceeds of the final sale?
Well, when you say proceeds realized, that is the net.
Okay.
That is the end number.
Okay, all right. Further discussion. Okay, so this is on the amendment, okay? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Amendment passes 7 ayes, 0 noes.
Okay, on the original,
I have a question for
yep, discussion, yep.
discussion first. Steve, in regards to the apprenticeship program, we value that and we brought that to the table in a sincere effort to raise the level of employment and work in our city and raise the level of qualified workers in our city. Can the LDC request from Hoboken and utilize the fact that we have that program in place and we'd like to see that instituted in each of the obligations that will come up with that public-private partnership? So in other words, anything they do with the city's blessing or state funding or city funding would require them to not only do the prevailing wage, but also include that application for the apprenticeship.
So I imagine some of that will, I'll discuss that with them. We will,
Sure.
certainly.
We appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, I would actually like a little bit more though, and in the ordinance, I'd like language put in, because essentially, I must tell you, I mean, a developer out of the goodness of his heart isn't going to adopt the apprenticeship program. And so I'd like language, basically at least something saying that the LDC should, or whatever, something strongly consider adopting the city's apprenticeship program, some type of language at least saying strongly consider adopting the apprenticeship program that the city of Troy has recently adopted. Something like that to at least, put something in there. Like I would feel more comfortable having language in there.
Council President, I believe
Yeah.
we have that right in the legislation that we passed, Resolution 72, states that any contract with a value of $100,000 or more, and also any applications that involve the city property or city funding or state funding would require that. So I think
But
we
if
already
we
have
sell
that.
it, this is my question.
So-
If we sell it, Monica, how does, yeah.
So there is a public, we're telling in the RFP and the ordinance itself, there is a public portion of this. According to the resolution that you just passed, if there's a public project being done by the city, that we will put in that language for the apprenticeship program. So if there is a public portion to this project, if we build a parking garage, if we build a park, just like 7th and Ingalls, we'll add in the apprenticeship program no differently than we will have to do if it's a public portion. Now, if there's grant funding tied to it, any work that's done funded through New York State would have a prevailing wage component to it. No different than the seawall, no different than the park projects that we do, all of those pieces. They'd send their payroll, certified, all that kind of stuff. No different than what we do already. As far as a private developer doing a private project, then that would be something separate, unless he was funded through a state grant and he had the same regulations. But if there is going to be a public portion to this, which I think is kind of the intent of the whole thing, as well as what the promise was to the neighborhoods and to the community, then there would be that would fall in, and we would label that once we got closer to it. You know, I just think that it's already written in the language that you guys already have the approval component at the end for the public portions of that as well. But you've already put that. And if that, by the time this is all said and done, if we still have that ordinance or that resolution in place for the apprenticeship program, then that would be included in anything that the public puts out.
Yeah, my biggest question, Councilmember Cummings, and then I'll ask my question.
Justin Miller's here, attorney for the LDC. And
So is Andy Brick, yeah.
I was wondering whether you could, not for this project in particular, although hopefully for this project, give a little bit about what various IDAs and LDCs do to encourage private developers to build local workforce and to contract local. What are the powers that those organizations might have in the future? Sorry, I threw you a curveball.
I'll try to provide you with a short answer to a long question.
And we can have this discussion into the future.
If you could
Council members.
introduce yourself, that'd be great.
Sure, yeah.
Justin. Thank you.
I'm Justin Miller. I've met most of you before. Thanks for having me, and thank you for your good discussion tonight. Before diving into that question, just to clarify, nothing's going to the LDC. The LDC is just being able to allow for a negotiated disposition. The nature of this project is planning at the beginning, which requires giving the developer some comfort in their investment to plan something that will come back to you. Ultimately, the project's going to come back to you in its proposal, and it's in whatever elevations, whatever site plan, whatever blend of public and private elements are put together, is going to come to you. You're going to have to approve that. So, to the council president's point, you're going to see it again. And I think there's going to be a lot of interaction between the developer, the LDC, the administration, and the council to bring something together that everybody likes. So I just want to put a pin in that. The LDC is not taking the land and running away with it. This is just really a facilitation to allow for thoughtful planning. To Councilman Cummings' question, we work on these exact kind of projects throughout the state. In particular, Westchester area, Yonkers, Port Chester, very heavily urban dense areas with transportation-oriented development. These projects, these structures are very common where you have a development agreement like we're talking about that allows the developer to come in with some color of title and option that gives them comfort to make an investment to bring a project through the planning process. So this is a common thing. LDCs are used as a mechanism to allow that to happen, just to be a facilitator, and we're kind of using that process in a thoughtful way. The prevailing wage debate, if you will, or the concept of using that for public projects is a very timely one. Those of you that are on the IDA, Anasha certainly has that experience. You're familiar with the debate over the years. There's been a lot of lobbying and advocacy from the labor unions, which is great. There's been a lot of legislative debate in Albany about whether IDAs should mandate prevailing wage as part of their projects because they are offering inducements and tax incentives. But at the same time, you have private sector developers that are using the IDAs because they can't make the projects pencil out in the first place. So there's a lot of friction. Municipalities, LDCs, and IDAs have used things like using best efforts and best practices to use project labor agreements, using apprenticeship programs like you're advocating and if you've adopted through legislation. Those are certainly good things to bring the unions together with public projects and make sure that their shops are getting access to jobs like this. In this particular case, there's a private sector development which will have public sector elements within it, which will result in ultimately certain portions of the project being required to use prevailing wage and union shops as part of the project. And that'll be the relocation, realignment, and reconstruction of Front Street is a perfect example. Ultimately, it's going to be offered for dedication for long-term and permanent city ownership. So under labor law section 220, to lawyer you up on the thing, there's a three-pronged test. One of the tests involves whether or not a municipal entity is going to take title to it or have control over its design. Anytime you accept a public street, it's being built to city standards. So when the street's built, it's got to be done with prevailing wage. And there's also going to be some state funding associated with that and attached to it. So that's an easy analysis on the street. When you're looking at a promenade and you're looking at a staircase that's going to use state funding, that's an easy determination as well. There's going to be access to prevailing wage and union rates on those things, which would bring with them the apprenticeship programs. I would think it would be a natural fit. I think that answers your question. But if you're looking at the vertical, the building itself, that's going to be a private sector development. And if the developer is going to work with one of the major construction firms in the Capital District, it's very likely they will use a union shop as well. The predominant larger projects will use union shop anyway, just because that's how the market generally runs in Albany for projects of this size. So it's a long answer to a short question, perhaps, but happy to answer any others or keep rambling if you'd like.
No,
So.
it's fine. I know Kevin's here on behalf of the union. Do you have a question? I'd be happy to.
They're happy to clarify or
Go ahead.
cede the
Yeah.
microphone.
Thank you, Justin.
So in my experience with unions, and this isn't a union issue, this is a public prevailing rate issue. This is an issue of raising the living standards and wages throughout the city. Now, with, I'm sorry, Mr. Strikeman, who is the director of the IDA, how many jobs in the city of Troy that have come through the IDA have actually gone prevailing rate? Well, anytime there's a job that has city, state, local government grant funding money should have prevailing rate dollars attached to it. Look what's going on right now with Amazon out in Rensselaer County. They're looking for 13 or 18 million dollars in state grant money. The first contractors on site are out of Connecticut. That whole entire job is going non-union. The city of Troy, 500 Broadway, Kings Commons, Collar City Lofts that burned down, Old Brick Warehouse, Neville Neitzel Building. These jobs aren't even done yet. These are IDA projects with city money. I'm talking hundreds of thousands of dollars of IDA city resident tax dollars, and they're not prevailing rate. All we're going to get out of this is a parking garage and maybe some paving. No.
Kevin, I appreciate that. And that was my next question, Justin. If IDA money is involved, that is not bounded by prevailing wage, correct? The IDA, like say they get pilot, whatever, that's not bounded by prevailing wage and wouldn't be qualified, I don't think, under the apprenticeship program. Like,
Not required, that's correct. There's legislation
do
currently.
you mind? I'm so
sure, I
sorry.
apologize.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, the current IDA statute doesn't require projects that are provided with pilot agreements or local tax incentives to utilize prevailing wage, and that's been the raging debate for years. There's some legislation right now that I think has some legs that will kind of provide a bright line for a certain amount of benefits. There's a debate as to how much benefit would require prevailing wage to be triggered. Again, there will be larger mega projects. We can't tell how big they're going to be or what percentage of overall benefit compared to project costs may trigger that. But I think when the governor's budget comes out in January, we're going to see where that debate goes. And given the timing of this project, that may be something that is required of the developer. We just don't know at this point. I don't know 100%, but I'm fairly certain that the developer is going to engage with the IDA because they're going to be putting a lot of public benefit into the project, which again will require them to look for some local incentives.
And, you know, I am aware the Senate and Assembly now are having hearings regarding just the LDCs, the IDAs that are out there. They do want more transparency. I mean, obviously it's going to be with, I would also, once again, put a request in a couple times, 3-4 times a year. The LDC should meet in the evening
I'll
You
request
know, a
that.
lot of folks can't make the morning meetings, they're a little tough. But saying that, you know, certainly the LDCs and IDAs, I think, are, as time goes on, we're going to see less of them. And I do see a little more emphasis on accountability and transparency for all.
Yeah, sure. I agree, and it's definitely a good thing. So, thank you.
Kevin, did you want to add?
I want to make one more statement. This is right off HobokenBrownstone.com. Daniel, the chairman of the non-for-profit Hoboken Advantage for 6 years, an organization funded with public monies. The organization was responsible for low interest rate loans to local businesses and the use of grants for street and sidewalk improvement, including trees, paving, and lighting. Just as he just said, that's all we're going to get out of this is paving and maybe some lighting. This is right off the website.
Thanks, Kevin. We have an amended ordinance that now includes the sale of the property. Do we want to continue discussing? Does anyone have any additional questions since Justin's here? And any additional questions for Steve as we move forward? Okay.
Council President.
Yep, Councilmember December.
Yeah, just, I did ask a lot of questions at the previous meeting. I just wanted to state for the record that, you know, I voted for the apprenticeship resolution. I think it's a great program. I support it. And through the RFQ, a lot of these, my line of questioning in our finance meeting was related to council oversight. So the RFQ, there are components that include the work of the public charrette process and the elements including the outdoor public plaza, the grand connection to the Riverfront Park, 2 parking lots. The development partner is expected to work with the city of Troy to plan and manage the construction of the project. This is straight from the RFQ. 2-story parking structure, public plaza at grade, a grand staircase. I bring these up to just reemphasize that my questions were answered at the previous meeting, that there is still a opportunity for council oversight. If we are bonding in regarding this, that'll go for approval. That if there's any grants associated, that has to be approved by the city council. If there's any easements in public access, those will also go through the city council. So my line of questioning previously was to confirm that there is a role for the city. And I think this is an opportunity for us to move forward in something that has failed in the past. And I think there is a great opportunity here. But to those points, there is council oversight in those processes, which I felt was important through that process.
Thank you, Councilmember. Further discussion?
I need
I'd
a
like
motion on the amended ordinance, please. To
we
reintroduce it.
the motion on the amended ordinance. Do I have a motion on the amended ordinance?
I'll make a motion on the amended ordinance.
Councilmember Kennedy, do I have a second? Second, Councilmember Garrett. On the discussion, Mara, I'd like a slow roll on the amended ordinance.
Councilmember Gully.
Yes.
Councilmember Garrett.
Yes.
Councilmember Paratore.
Yes.
Councilmember Cummings.
Yes.
Councilmember December.
Aye.
Councilmember Kennedy.
Yes.
Council President Mantello.
I'm just going to just make a very quick statement. Number one, I'm super glad that the amendment passed regarding the proceeds of the sale. That I feel is very, very important. Number two, I will continue asking Steve Strikeman, the Corporation Counsel, for that correspondence. I'm extremely concerned that information is being withheld from the council, and that kind of raises and piques my concern. So I will, under section C17 under the city charter, the council can ask for an opinion from the Attorney General. I'll read it to folks. A council member may direct that the Corporation Counsel obtain legal opinions from the Office of the Attorney General to clarify legal questions, saying that the section that I mentioned, section C15, I'm only asking for information. I'm very concerned that I was withheld.
What we have here is a difference of opinion. Mr. Strikeman came to me and asked me for my advice as the corporation counsel. I looked at C-15. I disagree with your expansive definition of what is required under C-15. Reports, information, or estimates. You're asking for correspondence. You're asking for an expansive definition of the city charter. The City Charter Commission should have thought of that. They didn't. I disagree specifically with your expansive definition of that. If they wanted to include correspondence, they should have put correspondence, and they did not. At no point in time did I advise Mr. Strikeman, nor did the administration, to hide anything from your request. And I do take umbrage with you keep repeatedly saying that, because but that's not true. What we have, Council President, is we have a difference of opinion, and I've been asked as the corporation counsel what my opinion is, and I gave it. You disagree with me. I think it's up to you to prove why you're expert on the charter, what is and what is not available under C-15. Thank you.
I am asking for information. I would qualify information being correspondence or email. Saying that we do have a difference of opinion, I don't know why you just won't give the information, even if we have a difference of opinion. Saying that, to correct our difference of opinion, I'm going to ask you under C-17 to inquire through the Office of the Attorney General whether or not C-15 allows the council information that I've requested. So we'll ask the Attorney General to answer that question, because I do feel it's pertinent information. So that's number two. Number three, we all want to see.
Chair, I think
We
your time's
all
up.
want to see.
Time's up.
Council member, I have the floor, please. We all want to see One Monument Square develop. And, quite frankly, in terms of this project, I stated my two very strong concerns. A, the sale of the property. I'm very, very pleased that that's happening. B, more importantly, the whole idea. I am hearing it's coming back to the council. I'm hearing bonding. I do hope that the council is not asked to bond for this project. We certainly have bonded quite a bit, so I don't see bonding coming back to the council. I do see the project potentially going to the IDA for pilot. I'd like to know that. I think that there's a lot of unknowns. We would be asked to do the easements anyway, even if it still was under control of the council. We would still be asked for various approvals. That's going to happen no matter what. So when we point to certain sections of the LDA, the agreement that's in front of us, that would happen either way. Saying that, I have a true concern about the apprenticeship program. We are hearing the apprenticeship program, if it's public monies, etc. Prevailing wage, if public monies are being used, that has to happen anyway. So we went through great length to pass the apprenticeship program. And I feel very strongly that this project should include the apprenticeship program. The LDC certainly can't guarantee that. And that's not their fault. This is up to us. This is up to us to approve or not approve the option to transfer. Obviously, the council wants to move in that direction. I do hope it proceeds positively, but because of my concerns, I am not going to vote for this option to transfer.
Ordinance 115 passes, 6 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you.
Thanks, Justin. We will move along. Resolution 82.
Resolution regarding the exploration of a community choice aggregation program and entering into an administration agreement with the Municipal Electric and Gas Alliance. Councilmember Cummings.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion, Councilmember Parator. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Garrett. Discussion?
Council President?
Yes, Councilmember.
First, I want to recognize Katie Vescio. Is here from Mega. just in case anyone has any other questions. We had gone back and forth. There's a couple amendments that I handed out to the agreement. It's not an amendment to the resolution itself, but this is an amendment to the change to the agreement itself. Basically making sure that, because I guess there's uncertainty about whether it'll end up being a 2 or 3 year energy supply agreement. And we had it in that it would basically be a 3-year term, and we want to make sure that whatever the term of the energy supply agreement, that's the term of this contract. So we've changed that to reflect that. The other thing is under 6.02 renewal term. It basically says if everything's going well, we'll do another term. But at the end of that, it does say unless amended or terminated as provided herein, which we wanted to strike the just as provided herein to make it clear that either party can just terminate it if we agree. I think that's what's intended by that because it talks about us getting together and talking.
Yes.
But I wanted to make sure, and our corporate counsel wanted to make sure that we aren't bound by the other provisions about having cause to terminate during that optional renewal period.
That's correct.
So that being said, beyond the amendments in this outlined in this, I also would like to move to strike the as provided herein at the end of that. The final thing that was not in the original version circulated are the deadline dates. The deadline date for the execution of the administration agreement by the municipality of January 1st, 2020, and the deadline for the adoption of a local law by the municipality of March 1st, 2020. And I believe this is the deadline you're giving all of the municipalities so that we can move forward together.
Some municipalities that started the process earlier have deadlines that are sooner. So those are the dates we've made for new municipalities such as Troy that are joining now.
And Council Member, on this note, I did have a couple of questions, only because we have to follow the charter for local law, and it's pretty extensive, 3 public hearings, 2 regular meetings. But saying that, I don't see your timeline horrible. I think we can meet it. My biggest concern, though, is getting out there in the public. And we had talked about like public meetings. Yes. So the consumers are aware of what's happening here.
Great.
Will that be a part during this process, or is it after?
So we like to do the 60-day education and outreach prior to your approval of your local law. So that's where I've just been tonight. I was in the city of Waterville doing an education and outreach session. And as soon as the administration agreement is executed by both parties, we begin. We have a variety of resources. I brought a bunch for you just in case you wanted to get your hands on materials, and I can provide that after. I'll stick around. So yes, I'm eager. Louise and I and the rest of the team are eager to get out in the community, start talking about it so folks are aware.
Because the thing here is we're also going to be going through a transition. So a new council's coming on board, so they would be responsible to pass the local law. So I am, we'll have to sit down with the timeline because our first meeting is an organizational meeting. So we would have to introduce this at the February because it has to be introduced at a regular meeting. Okay. So we'll introduce it at the February meeting. Over the course of January, we can educate the council sooner rather than later, because it is a big deal. This is going to be a huge, hopefully positive impact, but we need to obviously explain to the consumers what joining MEGA really is going to do with their utility bills, et cetera, et cetera. So we're going to have to work closely together to meet that deadline of March.
That sounds great. I'm looking forward to it.
Yep.
Thank you.
And just for the public here and the cameras and whatever else, can you give a 30 second
MEGA
CCAs? What's the benefit?
Absolutely.
So you have that at the tip, you're talking more than that.
I do. I have my presentation with me actually, but I'll give you the short version. So first and foremost, community choice aggregation is a group purchase of electricity. We're talking about giving residents and small businesses that use under a certain threshold of electricity the opportunity to shop for their energy supply, their electricity supply as a unit. So residents that are eligible within the city of Troy would join with residents in other communities that are doing this. I mentioned Waterville. I was in Voorheesville last night. They're all listed on our website to go together to the marketplace and ask suppliers for pricing for their electricity as a group of 40,000 plus households. So the city would just enable residents of the city of Troy to participate in that.
Is Albany a part of it, or are you still working on that? Who would we be lumped in with? I know Glens Falls, but do we
Glens
go up
Falls?
that high?
Yes.
Okay.
So within load zone F of the ISO load zone and within National Grid territory, we go as far north as Glens Falls. The next one is the city of Saratoga Springs. That's where Louise is tonight making a presentation. Town of Niskayuna, we go out even to Montgomery County. The town of Charleston has just signed the administration agreement. They're out in Sprakers. And I go as far south as Village of Kinderhook. And now the town of Kinderhook just emailed me this morning and wants to join the aggregation. So they have the same timeline in front of them that you have. There's the town of Bethlehem, the town of New Scotland, the town of Guilderland.
Bethlehem is in it?
They are in.
Okay.
Yes, they had their session earlier this afternoon at the library. So there's education and outreach happening around the community, and any resident or small business member in Troy that wants to go to any meeting in the area and find out more, they can. It's all the same information, and we encourage people to go wherever it's convenient to learn
And
more.
I think we have to really hit it home that if a consumer, like if a resident or small business doesn't want to be a part of it, they have to opt out.
It's an opt-out program.
So that's-
Exactly.
You're automatically opted in, so that's a big deal.
Council President.
Council member.
So for the residents that have electric bills, how will you notify each one this is gonna happen? Because if this is passed, are you just gonna automatically change their suppliers on all their bills? And are you gonna be competitive with the price they're getting? Because I mean, I would be very upset if I got a bill and it was somebody else's name on it and I didn't know where it came from and it was more than what I was paying. So
Yeah.
how are we gonna get that outreach to, and we know the same people show up to the meetings.
Yeah.
How do we get the outreach out to Joe Common resident that really doesn't care because he's already got his National Grid bill?
Mhm.
And then all of a sudden he gets surprised with a new label on there and a new bill that's higher than what he's getting. I mean, is that?
No,
I would
that's a
think
fair
that would put
question.
a very negative connotation on what we're really trying to do here. So I'm hoping that your outreach to the individual residents and businesses is going to be very strong, because I wouldn't want this to come back at us that look what they did,
Right.
you know?
Right.
And-
It's difficult saying we're doing this to give folks more choice, but then it's an opt-out program, so they have to choose to not do it. And I understand, and that's the majority of the questions that we get from residents in the southern tier who are in an aggregation, has to do with that.
But what I'm saying is if you automatically change them off of the plan they're on,
Mhm.
and they were saving money,
Mhm.
and then they say, well, we're gonna opt out, and now they go back, they might not get that same rate they had, you know, because some people lock into a 3-year rate.
I would just want to answer that. It doesn't take anyone off of a current contract. Only if they're on the utility variable rate are they eligible. It doesn't mean someone can't leave another supplier and opt out and leave that arrangement and then join the CCA, but we won't terminate anyone's contract if they're already buying from a supplier other than National Grid.
Oh, so this is only gonna affect people that have the National Grid.
That's right.
billing.
If they're getting their bill from National Grid and their supplier is National Grid,
Yeah.
it will opt them into the program if they meet the other eligibility requirements. But we honor people's existing choices.
Okay, all right, that's what I want to make sure, that we're
Yes.
not just gonna all
No.
of a sudden open up a bill and see your name on every one of them in the city and have a riot over it.
Oh, no. Yes. And we mail letters to every single resident that's going to be enrolled. And they have a 30-day opt-out period before the program even begins. And then if they, for some reason, threw that letter away, we still have an open door policy for opt-out and opt-in through the term of the project.
So one other question, please. Is there any way for you to approach people that have left National Grid and went to other companies, other suppliers? Do you have a way to like say, hey, here's our rate, jump on our bandwagon, the city of Troy is coming alive with green energy. This is our number. Would you consider coming to our side and being part of a bulk buy with us, and we can perform better rates? will you do something like that? Because I mean, why miss the boat on the people who have switched? And I'm not saying take them automatically, but since you're not doing that, send them the letter to offer them the opportunity with your rate so they can compare to see it might be a great value for them to move to your company from where they are and to this program.
That's a great idea. And I think through the general education and outreach efforts, we've had a lot of press coverage in the area. We've had radio campaigns. We put signage up. We give a lot of ways for folks that may not get that letter in the mail to hear about it, to hear the term, to learn what it's about, to understand more about their electric choices.
Yeah.
That's what CCA is designed to do, to help them understand, oh, I don't have to just buy from the utility, or I don't have to stay with the supplier that I don't feel like has served me very well. I want to try another option.
All right, good.
Great.
Excellent.
Thank you, Katie.
Councilmember Cummings.
Just you mentioned the letters that are going out, and we had discussed this. Part of the contract says we use our letterhead for one of those letters. Wanted to confirm that'll be a dialogue about what's in that letter. It's not just we hand you the.
That's right. That's right.
Send whatever you want.
And it's part of your local law process that you see the draft letter, work on it. It goes on letterhead in draft form to the Public Service Commission so they can see what the draft letter would look like. And then the letter is finalized once we actually have the pricing on it, right? Because that's what residents want to see. What price did you get?
Good. And if you could send us a template, I think you did at some point. There was so much information in
Yeah.
the local law.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that would be great.
There's
Yep.
There's a slew of documents. I don't know if we wanted to bombard you just yet.
No,
So
it's okay.
I'm happy to send those along.
Okay.
Some Christmas reading to do.
Oh, it's so much fun.
One last question. I know Green Island has their own power. Isn't it GIPA, Green Island Power Authority?
Okay.
Do they get their, I believe, their power from GIPA, so would they not be included?
That's correct. It's only for National Grid
But they
customers.
joined.
Are they a national? I'm not familiar with Green Island, but are they?
Oh, I thought you had said Green Island was part of our conglomerate, our
Not a
alliance.
part of this aggregation. You have
Okay.
to be a National Grid customer.
Gotcha.
So there are some communities within Zone F of the ISO that are NYSEG customers.
Gotcha.
So those communities aren't eligible
Gotcha.
to participate in this aggregation.
Okay. All right, cool. Further discussion? I really appreciate you
Oh,
coming
happy to
here
be here.
tonight. It's, hopefully we can have a good partnership.
Terrific. We're looking
Thank
forward
you.
to it. Thank you.
Further discussion. Now, we need to amend, folks, we need to amend the resolution with the information. So I'll make a motion to, actually, Councilmember Cummings made a motion to amend. I'll second the motion to amend on the amendment. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Amendment
you got the-
passes 7-0.
You got the as provided herein as well.
I'm sorry, say that one more
You
time.
struck the as provided herein as well
At the end
at
of,
the end of.
yeah, are you gonna,
Great. All right.
you sent me this document, right? That I
Right,
can
but
Yeah, but
you have
there's
that
one more.
strike.
There's one more strike.
There's one strike that was not in the document.
Right, but you sent me a version of it so that I don't have to handwrite on it and send it to the
Okay,
mayor, right?
very
You
good.
have an electronic
Correct.
version?
You have an electronic version.
All right.
Second bit.
Yes.
I'm gonna.
Great.
On the amended resolution, do I have a motion? Motion, Councilmember Garrett. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember December. Discussion?
Council President?
Yes, Councilmember Cummings.
I just want to recognize the Sustainability Task Force and particularly Michelle Rigaud once again for her amazing work on this project, on vetting the three different possible companies for this effort and really delving into the details as well. Thank you. And really looking forward to making energy both cheaper and greener for our residents.
Yeah, and I'll echo Councilmember Cummings. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you very much. I know a lot of time and energy. I think all of us. Thank you. All right. All in favor? Oh, I'm sorry. In the black jacket.
Stand up and be ready.
Hey, Michelle. Michelle, Deb Michelle.
No, that was good because she, the lady that I've been spoke, normally sometimes we get up and spoke, speak. It tends to go around the question and you was right on target, so thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Resolution 82 passes 7 ayes, 0 noes.
Resolution 86.
Resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with ESI Employee Assistance Group for the purpose of providing employees with an employee assistance program. Council President Mantello at the request of the administration.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion, Councilmember Parator. Do I have a second? Second, Councilmember December. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Resolution 86 passes 6 ayes, 0 noes.
Resolution 87.
Resolution commending TJ Kennedy for distinguished service to the city of Troy. Council President Mantello.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion, Councilmember Gully. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Parator. Discussion? Mara, you could do a slow roll.
Councilmember Gully.
Yes.
Councilmember Garrett.
Yes.
Councilmember Parator.
Yes.
Councilmember Cummings.
Abstain.
Councilmember December.
Abstain.
Councilmember Kennedy is absent. Council President Mantello.
No.
Resolution 87 passes? Doesn't pass? Passes.
Passes.
Passes, 3 ayes, 1 no, and 2 abstentions. All right.
I'll live with it.
Point of order.
Yes, Councilmember.
Just to move forward, I'm citing section 232, motion for reconsideration of resolution 90, which is commending myself. I am just I'm making a motion to recuse myself from that original vote.
Thank you. And I believe I have to second that motion. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Very good.
Thank you.
Yep, no problem. So resolution 87, and just so you're aware, it was 3-1. When you abstain, it's not no. So, resolution. That is correct. I apologize. That's why you're my pro tem. 3 is not a majority. He is absolutely correct. You needed 4 votes. I apologize.
Okay.
Thank you. That's why you're my pro tem. So it fails.
Resolution 87 fails, 3 ayes, 2 abstentions, 1 no.
Thank you. I apologize and thank you. Resolution 88.
Excuse me, I've lost my papers. Resolution commending Colleen Parator for distinguished service to the city of Troy. Council President Mantello.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion, Councilmember December. Do I have a second? Second, Councilmember Garrett. Discussion?
Council President?
Yes, Councilmember Cummings.
Yeah, I'll just say it's been a tremendous honor. I've learned so much from you and really benefited from your counsel and from your participation and aid in our work here. So thank you for all of your integrity with which you've served.
And I'd like to echo those comments. We might not agree all the time, but the one thing on this day is, maybe minus a council member or two once in a while, we all have our own thoughts. We all have our own feelings. And to berate those feelings or to deflate those feelings, I really think is wrong. And I do believe, council member Parator is upheld that standard, I believe. And even though we may disagree sometimes, everyone has their thoughts, everyone has their beliefs, and you're very passionate about your beliefs. And I thank you for serving with you these past 2 years. Further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Oh, did Councilmember Parator recuse herself in that vote?
You have to recuse.
I recuse myself.
Okay, just double checking. Thank you. Resolution 88 passes, 5 ayes and 1 recusal. Thank you.
Thank you, Mara. Resolution 89.
Sorry, doing this one-handed over here. Let's see. Resolution commending Deborah Garrett for distinguished service to the city of Troy. Council President Mantello.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion, Councilmember Parator. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Cummings. Discussion?
Council President?
Yes, Councilmember December.
I would just like to thank Councilmember Garrett for her work and integrity throughout the process, throughout her term, serving as someone who was searching for a candidate to make the replacement in District 2. I think we could have found no one better to do that work, and I'm incredibly proud to serve with you and very fortunate to serve with you, and I know you're going to keep on doing work after this as well. So I will be voting emphatically in yes.
Further discussion, Councilmember Garrett. I, as you know, was very upset because I was not included in choosing the candidate for District 2. I must say that the majority definitely found the right person. I have gotten to know you professionally, personally. Your dedication to District 2, nobody can outmatch just your love, your passion, and your drive. I've learned from you. You say what's on your mind, and you are a grassroots girl. And I hope that our friendship and our partnership continues. And I want to see you obviously continue working with us, and your work in District 2 is not done. It's just begun. So thank you very, very much for all your service, and you're just a wonderful person. Thank you. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Resolution 89 passes 5-0. And one abstention.
Resolution 90.
Resolution commending David December for distinguished service to the city of Troy. Council President Mantello.
So moved.
Do I have a motion? Councilmember Cummings motions. Do I have a second?
Second.
Councilmember Parator seconds. Discussion? Yes, absolutely. Councilmember Garrett.
I want to say it's been a real roller coaster experience, but I will say that although everybody didn't get included in me being added into this, I had a nice welcome and with like talking to David, because my goal was not to be in the seat. I was trying to push for somebody else to be in the seat. But I had a nice conversation with David and Nasha, and I just want to say I appreciate that. I feel like you was honest, and I didn't realize you actually got paid to do this. And David kind of like let me know. I was like, oh, I just wanted to do it because I just wanted to help. But so thank you.
Oh, that's awesome. That's really nice.
It should be fun.
Council President?
Yes, Councilmember Cummings.
From the very beginning, we've been partners in a tremendous amount of work together on this council, and really proud of what we've accomplished together. Thank you for your leadership on important resolutions, from the sanctuary resolution, which held moral ground by this council, to the ordinance on the Plastic-Free Hudson River Act, which sets a model for the region, reducing our dependence on and reducing litter from plastic waste, to your leadership for your neighborhood, although we disagreed on the Skolite site, to your constant advocating for the neighborhood associations and neighborhood groups in your district. I've been ever impressed by your work here and look forward to continued work together into the future.
Thank you.
Very nice.
Thank you very much.
Very
Very
nice.
kind.
And
Council President,
Councilmember Gully, thank you.
I just want to cut you off there for a second. Hopefully you're going to forget what you were going to say.
Never.
So here's
Never.
okay. I wanted to wait to the end because there's no sense talking about one person. We are a group. As a group, we didn't always agree. We didn't always connect. But we found resolution to come to an answer. Wasn't always pretty, but it was still finalized. It hasn't all been a pleasure. It has been fun. But you know and I know we've had some aggravating nights here at this plastic table. All right, with our one microphone that we share. So I just want to say I learned a lot from all of you, and I hope that our interaction has gained that value for how we treat each other and how we communicate and work with each other in the future, because this is not the end, just the beginning for you guys. You're young, you're the next step, and I know that this is not your last time at a political position or a municipal table. So I want to say thank you for the experience, thank you for the lessons, the life lessons, and the integral knowledge lessons that you've given me over 2 years. And I look forward to working with all of you in a different capacity in the future, as long as I'm still here.
Feeling is mutual.
And, I'll just sum it up. Councilmember December, obviously, we were opponents, but guess what? Councilmember December recognized, and I recognized that during an election, I kind of equate it as a baseball game or a football game. You're in the trenches. You're both trying to score. You're both trying to win. But guess what? Come 9 o'clock on election night, 9:01, you roll up your sleeves and you work together. And we might not have agreed on some major issues, on a lot of smaller issues. We agreed on quite a few, and we worked together on the plastic fee or the paper bag fee issue, which will come back, by the way, on the 19th with some amendments. But more importantly, it's been very nice to get to know you. You certainly, I'm sure this isn't your first rodeo, and I'm sure we'll see you in the future. But saying that, I'm the Yankees, you're the Red Sox, and now we work together for the next 3 weeks. Thank you, Councilmember December. Thank you. All right, all in favor? Aye. Opposed?
And I will be recusing myself.
Thank you.
Resolution 90 passes 5 ayes, 0 noes.
And Resolution 91.
Authorizing the implementation and funding in the first instance 100% of the federal aid and state Marchicelli program aid eligible costs of a transportation federal aid project and appropriating funds therefore. Council President Mantello at the request of the administration.
Do I have a motion? Motion, Councilmember Garrett. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Parator. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Resolution 91 passes 6 ayes, 0 noes.
We will now open up. If anyone would like to speak on any item, issue happening in your neighborhood, we're open. If not, I see Chief McMahon. Hello, sir.
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
I just want to make you guys aware that obviously we went through like a major snowstorm. I just want to reach out to the fire department. They did a fantastic job. Right at the height of the storm, we did have an alarm of fire down in South Troy. They did a fantastic job as usual. Along with that, I know everybody was concerned about the fire hydrants. I know that Eric Wisher reached out, you reached out, the mayor reached out, and obviously there was a major concern statewide or at least in this area. And I just want to make you aware that the National Guard was in town. I don't know if you knew that. Over the course of 2 days, we probably had somewhere in the neighborhood of 60 soldiers and airmen and Marines in shoveling with our guys. We tagged some of our guys along with these National Guardsmen. We gave them radios. They went out, they searched out the hydrants, and they shoveled out all the hydrants, and they did just a fantastic job. So I just wanted to make you guys aware of that. All right.
Thank you
so
Chief.
much.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Chief. And, I think all of us can agree, the fire department, our DPW, our DPU, the deputy mayor, the administration, the mayor, everyone worked together. The council, I know, we were out there talking to folks, working with the administration. I know it sounds corny. It was a great effort by all, and we really did do a great job to everyone. And I know there's still issues out there, and we'll get them addressed. So Thank you to all the employees of the city, the mayor, the deputy mayor. Nice job. Thank you. Yes, Councilmember Garrett.
I just wanted to say thank you to the mayor's office because so my grandmother was away when the snow came, and my cousin went and shoveled so that she could have a walkway. Well, when the guys came to plow,
Yes.
they pushed it all back up. So she's like in her house at this point, so she tried to go out and it was covered. She couldn't get a hold of me, so she had called Joyce Henderson Max Place. I don't know who she called, but the guys came back out and made a new pathway for her. So I just want to say thank you.
Excellent.
She's 70-something years old, so she don't need to break her hip. So thank you.
And you know what, Councilmember Garrett, there's a lot of stories out there where city employees and others, that's Troy, you know, that's what Troy's all about, the people and the people working together to just get done and get the job done. So thank you, Councilmember Garrett. Would anyone like to address the council? I saw you hopped up, hopped down, I apologize. Oh, wait, one more thing. No, I'm kidding.
Chief of Police, you gotta back up. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Kenneth Youngs. I live at 391 9th Street in Troy, New York. I've been there 16 years this year. I'm here again about my wall. My folder's getting pretty big about my wall. I'm a little upset because when my councilman was Mr. McGrath, who never did anything for me, when he was embarrassed and he had to leave, I had a new council person. I went and met with her the first time I ever met her. I asked her, I said, can you do me one thing? Send out an email to all the council members because I want to know if you care. If you say you do, not one of you has responded to her email.
Well, wait, I'm sorry, I don't want to cut you off because I didn't send an email to them. I actually spoke to, I spoke to Monica. I didn't send an email, I spoke to her about your wall.
We didn't get the email.
I don't want you
All right. Then I'll take that back because I was a little upset over that.
No, because I didn't want you to.
I've been to the mayor's office. Oh, you're going now, Dan. I've been in the mayor's office, Monica, 6 times. Left my name, my phone number, my cell phone's on me all the time. And they missed a call. How can he not reply to me? Monica at one time offered me a deal. Ken, I'll build the wall 8 foot high and grade the rest, and we're going to take care of the landscaping. Bull. All right. First off, when it wasn't my wall, the city sent me a letter and said it was my wall. Take it down and rebuild it, or we'll put it on your taxes. It's a way to steal my house. I can't pay that much money in 3 years, otherwise you get my building. So I took the wall down, I rebuilt it. I did it for about $34,000. No profits. I didn't profit off the demolition. I didn't profit off the materials. I didn't profit off the job itself. She offered me an 8 foot wall because an 8 foot wall is 34 grand, 35 grand. I had to build a 13 foot wall. I had to build the exact same wall. I built a 13 foot wall. Their bid on a 13 foot wall, 64 grand. I'm not asking the city to pay me. I own my own construction company. I'm not asking you to pay me like I built the wall. All right. Most of the time, whatever you spend on a project is double. That's where you pull your profits from. You pay your insurances, you pay your trucks, you pay. That's how it rolls. I'm not asking for that. I want my $34,000 back. You hired a temporary man after Russ Reeves was embarrassed and left office. He came to my house and proved to the city that this was not my property. It was not my land. They forced me to take the wall down, get rid of creosote soaked, which is hazardous waste, and then build a new wall. So I did it because I can't afford you to take it down, put it on my taxes. I came to the city 2 years later and I said, listen, there's a section, it was roughly 8 foot. They claim it's 15, but they didn't take pictures and measure. They just said it. But it was about 8 foot. They didn't put enough deadman in a wall. If you don't know what a deadman is, I'll be quick. It's a T that you stick in the dirt from the wall. You attach it to the wall. It goes out 8 to 10 foot. Then it goes down into the dirt so that it has something to pull on, an anchor. I left town for 2 weeks to work out of town. I came back. My workers didn't put enough deadman in one small section. So I came to the city because after 2 years, they said it got a bow in it. So I came to the city and I said, I'll fix it. They said, okay, Ken. I got a barricade permit. And I started to take the wall down. Then Russ Reeves shows up. The city papers I have say that code showed up first, which is a lie. Russ Reeves came to my house, said I got a phone call, anonymous, phone call says the wall collapsed and it's a dangerous situation now, Ken, you got to back up, we're taking over. I'm barricaded. I have my tractor. I'm cutting and taking the wall apart a board at a time so I can take a section down and fix it. He takes my whole wall down. This wall's 110 foot long. It goes around my side yard, 51, 52 foot. This wall was so strong that Russ Reeve made the contractor that came to tear it down, he made him turn the corner, go into my backyard, 52 feet, because he couldn't take a section of the wall without taking it all. Wasn't coming apart like that. So first, what gives him the right to go on my property? If the wall fell on my property, there's no pedestrians, there's no, so he took my stuff. The city made me, bottom line, the city made me do the wall. Point blank, they sent me a letter. The Tundra didn't like me. I did the wall.
I'm going to ask if we could do something here. What if we were able to get the appropriate folks to sit down with you? We'll also have Councilmember Garrett as your council member, and if I'm available, I'll join. Have a meeting to go over exactly what happened, what transpired. What do you exactly want from the city now? Do you just
One
want
of
the
two
money,
things.
34
No, I don't, the
All right,
money.
What do you want? Tell
I
me.
want my wall back. I want my yard back. If the wall is 13 foot, right now the wall is nothing. It's a slope with a big bunch of rocks on it.
Okay.
The trees were weeds.
I know
The
right
trees
where
were weeds.
Yep.
They grew in the trees.
Mhm.
Weeds shouldn't grow in the trees. The city's land now, the city's supposed to take care of it, they told me. We'll do maintenance. I got beer bottles, liquor bottles, needles,
It's a
drug
mess.
bags.
It's a mess. I see.
So I cut the trees and I
mean,
laid them
that
down.
City
The
property
city,
where the
yes.
mess is? Okay, I thought that was
That's
your
where our
property.
dilemma comes in. The city says they own 8
Okay,
foot from the curb.
So do me a favor, okay? We're going to set up a meeting. I promise you. Deb's going to help me. We'll set up a meeting with the appropriate folks. If we need the court counsel there, whoever the deputy.
Oh, yeah, we need them there.
Yep, we'll get the appropriate folks in the room. And let's
I just
see.
want my yard back. I want to be able to put up a fence so
Understood.
that I can have a swimming pool
Yep.
so my daughter can go swimming.
I get
Can't
it.
do that now.
I get it.
I'm paying the same taxes. My yard is 13 foot
Okay.
narrow, 110 foot long. It's,
Ken,
my grandkids don't go in my yard. I just
get
want,
it. You're upset.
everybody says they're going to do something, Carmel.
We'll get a meeting.
Okay.
Listen, I promise you a meeting. Okay. Well, Deb, I recall you coming up, Deb and I recall you coming up.
I've been coming up here for
3
years.
ago, yeah.
Years.
Jim Gully and I were on there. Listen, Deb and I will schedule a meeting. Does Deb have your contact info, Ken?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, very good. We'll hook up a meeting, okay? I can't promise you it's gonna happen next week, but we'll get a meeting.
Well, they
together.
just found money and approved, out of the regular money for somebody's raise. But yet I can't use my backyard. The city of Troy says, Ken, you can't have a swimming pool because you can't put up a 6 foot fence.
Okay.
I didn't leave it like that. They did.
We're gonna get.
I want to be
we're
made
gonna get a
whole.
meeting.
That's what I want.
I get it. We'll get a meeting rolling, okay?
Thank you.
Maybe Councilmember Gully can join us.
I appreciate it. And sorry you couldn't run and keep the seat.
All right. Thank you, Ken.
Congratulations, brother.
Thank you, Ken.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
night.
Yep, thank you. Please.
How you guys doing?
We're okay.
I'm Steven Figueroa. I've been in the city of Troy for about 9 years. I work in the city of Troy. I work with youth, with opportunity youth. I don't like to label them as at risk. They're just short of opportunity, and that's where we kick in. We've been talking about this endless times about building a community center, and I want to continue to bring it up because currently I'm facing a situation where I'm servicing 114 kids right now, okay, the basketball team. And I have nowhere to practice. We do operate out of the Boys and Girls Club. These are one of the organizations that we vouch for and saying that it's available. Yesterday, I have a game on Saturday, and we had 1 hour to practice. I look for other gyms. They want money. We don't have money for it. These are kids. There's in the same community as North Central. One of my kids that we just did tryouts. One of my kids that's on the team was recently shot in the leg. So I'm dealing with stray kids from the North Central, but yet we do not have a place to practice. And then what's available to the community, it's really not, and we vouch for them, and we provide them with top dollars to run these programs. And it's not available to people that's really out there, boots and ground. I do not get paid for coaching. Right now, I'm struggling with funding, with league fees. We have probably $790 in league fees, because my goal is to not only have them play basketball, but educate them and try to keep them off the streets, which I'm coming up on my own and trying to raise money. Unfortunately, I do operate out of the Boys and Girls Club, but there's no funding that helps me. All the money that's raised is by myself. Deborah Garrett and her organization last year helped sponsor, and I appreciate that. And I just want you guys to consider when we do bring up the fact that we need a community center, we need stuff for these kids, and when we're funding these organizations that we bring up in these meetings, such as Lansingburg Boys and Girls Club, Troy Boys and Girls Club, if you guys are funding, really investigate where those dollars are going to, and if they really servicing, which I totally know they are servicing the kids of the community, but every kid, if when we do consider that. So all I'm asking is to keep reconsidering the community center, and also keeping your eyes out on those who's really on the ground doing those moves unpaid. Because
Quick question.
Yeah.
So can the schools provide a gym to try to partner to move this?
a lot of times they don't want to because of liability,
Because of the liability.
liability, and they want money to. I reached out to a couple, like I think it was McBride. They're charging fees. The Boys and Girls Club also rent out to other people that unfortunately push us kind of to the side, and we don't get access, which they charge too. NAF Center we tried as well.
Well, that-
One
so,
sec,
Council President-
Councilmember December.
Thank you. That was the one I was just going to bring up. There was just a school board vote, $56 million. The NEF Center was identified as a location for the community.
I think last year we tried, and
I bring it up, and I know it's not in North Central.
we actually tried to. I was doing basketball during the summer. We tried with an organization. They didn't even want to rent at all because they said it was in the process of being sold or in negotiation. So it wasn't.
I bring this up because we just had a recent vote that it looks like the city school district is going to be acquiring that property. It's actually in my neighborhood. I know it's in South Troy. I know it's not North Central, but maybe there's an opportunity to reach out to the superintendent because I believe it's listed as for use for community school programs. It's the parking lot, and it's the fields outside, which are I think underutilized, and I think it would be a great opportunity. And I'd be coordinate any of that. I think it's a great opportunity for people to get involved. So if there's a way we can be in touch afterwards.
Yeah, absolutely. I would definitely.
Councilmember Garrett.
Yes.
Steve is selling himself short. Steve is phenomenal. Steve works for Youth Build. Steve is also part of Team Hero. Steve also has a limousine company.
Wow.
He shows up whenever to DJ anytime you have an event. Sometimes for free. But he does a lot for the kids in the community. Last year he did something different that I thought was great, that a lot of times when organizations are asking for funding, they're asking for these big amounts. But Steve made it to where anybody can give, and he had these little slot, even if you only give $25, and he made certificates, and all this stuff came out of his own pocket. I don't think it's necessarily a problem with having it outside of North Central. I think it's just the fact of not having the kids be able to play basketball. Although the Boys and Girls Club is being utilized, he's absolutely right. There's a lot of programs that the Boys and Girls Club is allowing people to use the building for, but when other things come up, they're getting pushed out. I just seen an email, as of, I think it was yesterday or the day before yesterday, of a program that was there usually on Saturdays that's getting pushed out because somebody's paying to have an event there, which means that the programs that are doing things for free out of their own pockets are being pushed to the side. So if we can help Steve in any kind of way, shape, or form, I think we should do that. I won't be on the council for the next go around, but I definitely think that when you guys are making funding go towards the Boys and Girls Club, you need to hold them accountable because there's a lot of programming that was, and I can't speak for Lansingburg, but I know for certain on one end, on 7th Avenue, that one in particular, there's a lot of programs that were housed there that are pulling back because of how things are being ran and how they're being shortchanged pretty much.
Huh.
And their Team Hero have a lot of children that were going there all the time, and they're not even in the building but once a week now because of how things are being handled. So if we're gonna be giving them money, we need to make sure that money is being allocated.
No, and I think what's most frustrating to me too is that when my kids entered the building, they're considered as a club kid. So when funding is being allocated and when organizations is reaching for money, they're actually using the numbers, including my kids, into programming. But then when I need funding or you know what I'm saying, I need something for the basketball program, there's no money available. But you're raising money using, okay, if you have 50 kids coming in the club, or wherever, CYO, you have 50 kids. I bring in an additional 10 kids. You're adding 10 kids to your funding. So now you're asking Joe Schmo, I need $60,000 now because I'm servicing 60 kids and 10 is including mine. But then I don't get a piece of the pie. And I don't, like I said, I don't do it for money. This is my third year. I spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars out of my own pocket just to make sure these kids are doing something positive, staying off the streets. And all I ask is for the support. If I can't get it from, other community partners, at least from the city of Troy.
Steve, thank you for apprising us of all this. I certainly was not aware of that whole picture. So we'll work with Deb, Councilmember Garrett, Councilmember December, if you need any help from us. The other front, certainly John Carmelo, I would hope would be open to this, but please let us know what we can do to help.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Yeah. Thank you.
Steve, keep up the great work,
Yeah,
please.
absolutely. And I just
Okay.
want to give you guys, if you guys
Thank you.
are interested, that's my, I was trying to make it bigger, those are my kids that last year.
Thank you. Awesome. Thank you, Steve. Jeez. Really appreciate this. So now, where's your game on Saturday?
At the Albany Boys.
Okay. All right.
And I want you to be aware that the Boys and Girls Club are also a lot of organizations' fiscal sponsors. So what happens is that the money is going into the account and they're getting, a line item, but he is absolutely right. When they're looking at the data overall, like, Team Heroes was the reason why the Boys and Girls Club got it was a national award, Steve, right?
That's correct.
They got a national award in the nation just for the program that they're doing. They're not reaping the benefits of that. The name Boys and Girls Club is, but that program is not reaping the benefits, and that's not fair.
Okay.
And I'm a fan, I don't
Yeah,
fan of
no,
Boys and
I
Girls
know,
Club, but I
I
just
know.
feel like you need to utilize the right program.
Okay. Wow. This is certainly an education news to me, Steve, and Councilmember Garrett. Would anyone else like to address the council?
Good evening. Eric Wisher, 30 Fairfield Road,
Hi, Eric.
President of Troy Uniform Firefighters. First, I'd like to thank all you guys for your service. 2 years. Like Jim said, not everybody agrees. It's a tough job, pleasing everybody, but congratulations on your time. The snowstorm, like to thank all the city employees, right? Everybody came together. Most of the departments work with shoestring staff. The DOT guys that come in, the National Guard guys. A lot of people think it's just a hydrant, but when you're wasting 5 minutes digging out somebody's hydrant, that's 5 minutes you're not fighting their fire, you're not in there making a rescue for them. It's pretty substantial. So just like to thank everybody that the week went well.
Thank you, Eric.
All right.
And just full disclosure, I did talk to Eric about this, and I will be introducing legislation. I'll be bringing it to the 19th, so you'll get it prior. I heard you, John Saka. John Saka, please reframe your comments. He just left the building saying Jesus Christ. Anyway, I plan on introducing legislation adopting a fire hydrant. It's in other municipalities. It's worked really well. It gets the community involved. And I'm sorry to hear that our communications director is
Well,
not
it's
happy
important,
about it.
right? We got
Thank
2
you.
feet of snow. It's not even winter time yet, right? We don't have any room to put snow. They're gonna get plowed in again. Some of them you would never find
Yep.
with future storms. You know, even 3 or 4 inches of snow will cover them back up. But at least they're all exposed and you can get to them easier.
Eric, thank you, and
Yep.
I will send it to all of you in plenty of time. And as I said, there's parameters, interactive map. It's very, very simple and a great partnership. And a lot of people are doing it now, and we thank those folks. But now we'll know where it's done, where it's not done, and fill the voids.
The other,
Thank you, Eric.
the other thing that was done is both Medic 1 and Medic 2 were staffed for the storm.
I heard.
All our rigs were fully equipped. We had a fire. We had people on every rig. We didn't have any issues. It needs to be looked into, right? The lady earlier said there's 1,100 units coming. We have to provide services for those units, right? The 599 River, that's 250 some calls a year. The building next door is 200 calls a year. The calls keep going up, but we don't add people to do these calls. So
We have to talk about the Medic 1, Medic 2 issue, and obviously the more folks that are, obviously tenants in Troy.
Mhm.
So, thank you,
All right.
Eric.
Have a good night.
Thank you. With that, would anyone else from the audience like to speak? All right, I will take a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, motion, Councilmember Gully, second, Councilmember Garrett.
Praise God.
Oh, my